All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. I hope everybody is doing well on this Monday. Very quiet Monday. Very, very quiet. Strangely quiet. Welcome back to Press X Podcast or Press Cross Podcast if we want to be, technically correct here. Prince, what's up? Unknown. Yeah, I saw your message, Unknown. I'm not sure which comment you're talking about. I went to go check any comments that were held, and yours didn't show up, so not sure what's up with that. Michael says, what do you think Kratos is yelling right now? My guess is hit the like button. Yes, indeed. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Gothmog is just now becoming aware that IGN gave Saros a 7 out of 10 and just questioning it. Yeah, we covered that in a recent stream. I read their entire review. Basically, whoever reviewed it seemingly didn't like the story that much. So, everybody else seemed to love it. But of course, IGN, they strike again. By the way, Michael, I fixed my games for you. Okay? So, it is now in proper alphabetical order. All right? You caught me yesterday with the Astrobot. You got me. Dilla says, let's get started here. Indeed. Mustafa, I'm glad you're enjoying that Elden Ring fight. Yes, that was a good one. Raven, what's up, man? Happy Monday. Yes, happy quiet Monday. We have a couple things we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about PC ports for PlayStation once again. We have Shuhei Yoshida kind of chiming in a little bit here, and we're going to be asking the question, did PlayStation porting their games to PC affect the console? Did it affect the console sales? Shuhei Yoshida believes it did not. So we'll talk about that. Apparently, path tracing has also been achieved on the PS5 Pro, which is crazy. I'll tell you what, man. It's interesting to see people's reactions to this, where people don't seem to understand like how kind of insane it is that path tracing is possible on a console like the PS5 Pro. But it does call into question how much it matters to people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I don't plan on talking more about the PlayStation DRM situation. I did put a video out covering it today as extensively as I could. But I'll tell you what, man. Sony is strange. They're very strange because it's like this situation with the DRM thing, it just popped up yesterday or in the past couple of days, I mean, and it really blew up over the weekend. And I figured, Sony's not saying anything because it's the weekend. That's why they're not saying anything. Here comes Sony Monday morning, right? After there's just so much ire and frustration. And they're like, I know what we should do. You ready? Let's announce another price increase in a different region. That's what we're going to do. And I don't understand Sony PlayStation in the year 2026, dude. Like, I don't understand what is going on. But that's what they did. Rather than addressing the DRM situation, they announced that there are price increases in the Southeast Asian regions now. So not the most shocking thing, because a lot of people were anticipating that was going to happen since the price increases, happened earlier this month for other territories, arguably more important territories for the PlayStation console. PS5 would have sold even more than what they already have if the games were not ported to PC. This is just a fact. Dillo, you're saying you're having a great time with Ghost of Yote working on the platinum. Nice, dude. Yeah, I got the platinum for that. It's it's not too difficult. It can get a little bit grindy though. I won't lie. I started to get a little bit annoyed at the very end with just like how much checkbox stuff you had to do. But good platinum overall. You're asking what happened with the DRM thing. Basically, there's like a new form of DRM that seemingly has popped up where it's like your games will expire in 30 days and you have to reconnect to the internet to have access to them. But a lot of people think it's a bug. I don't know. Michael says, I saw you fixed it. Sorry, I'm a few minutes behind. Watching you at 2.5 times speed. That's insane. I watch my videos at 2.5 times speed to just make sure like everything is good before I release it. And it's interesting how you can actually really adjust to listen to somebody talk that fast and actually keep up. Web5 Gamer says, the truth is when PlayStation began, Sony didn't believe in it and mostly left it alone. Now that SIE is 40% of Sony, they are more actively involved in how SIE is run. So the PlayStation of old is gone. I'm sure there's layers of truth to that for sure. Yeah. You're choosing to read out a lot. That is like the last message, dude. Wait, what are you talking about, Titus? You heard. Oh, Unico, you're saying isn't that standard for digital? Not that I'm aware of, no. I don't think it's ever been like that. That's why people are kind of shocked and frustrated. Well, I mean, to a certain extent, maybe, Dillo. You're saying you didn't know it was you didn't know if it was just 30 days. I don't know. I don't know if there was something like that already in place, but just for a much longer period of time. Chris, what's up, man? Yep, Saurus is almost here. If you have the digital deluxe edition pre-ordered, you're going to gain access to it very soon. The stuff that is only positive, even in an ironic light. Michael says, stop bitching and buy physically. That will all go away. Yeah, I mean, I want to take this opportunity to encourage people. If you're not buying your games physically, please do so. You don't have to. I mean, the truth of the matter is there are a lot of people who, if this is in fact what Sony's doing, they're not going to care because it does not affect them. And it's hard to argue with that, where it's like, yeah, I mean, you should maybe care about consumer rights a little bit, but, there's a lot of people that, the great irony is like most of the people complaining about it probably don't actually care because they connect to the internet every day. The irony that they're on the internet complaining about it, but it's it's the principle of the matter, of course. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised Sony hasn't said anything. Like, how is it that Sony's like, rather than addressing the DRM issue, we're just going to announce another price increase? Like, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. God forbid we just let Soros get the attention. Also, why would Sony announce a damn price increase the day before Soros drops? I don't know. I just question what the hell is going on there sometimes, man, where it's like you couldn't wait a couple days till after Soros came out. You couldn't just let Soros dominate the headlines. There has to be this nonsensical DRM thing and now another price increase. Like, I'm not, again, I know it sounds like I'm just bitching and moaning, but I just question the decisions. That's all. What if you got a digital console? Oof. Well, then I guess you would already plan to be always connected to the internet. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. My PS5 Pro is hardwired to the internet, you know? So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this like affects me. But just because it doesn't affect me doesn't mean I don't see the the negative ramifications of it, you know? I don't want to see things go in this direction, at least not this soon. Interesting. Digital all day. For me, games are one and done. I mean, it's fair. That's fair. Don't let somebody else's problem become your problem, right? You do both. You wanted RE9 on disc, but they were sold out when you wanted it. Yeah, that was a big problem with Resident Evil 9. They did not make enough physical copies of that game. I got really lucky. Mine came in. They already know how Saros is going to sell. I hope not, man. That's going to be such a shame. If Saros doesn't sell well, that's going to just be depressing. DRM happens right before doing early access for Sony's next big thing. The timing is questionable. Well, I mean, a lot of people believe that this was like intentionally done, you know, and they were just hoping nobody would notice. And that's, you know, and it's like if they fix it, it's like, yeah, it was a bug. Oops. But it's like, that sounds insane to me. Like, I don't believe that because it's like, of course people are going to find out. Of course people are going to become aware. And of course this is going to become a headline. So it's either you did this because you wanted to do this and this is your plan, or it legitimately is a mistake. I will say that apparently it's like for select PS4 games and it's not really affecting PS5 games as much. That tells me this might actually be a bug. Because if it's not universally across every single digital item, then, you know. But we'll see what happens. Sony stepping on the rakes. It's to stop that full jailbreak from hackers. Interesting. You know, I do recall hearing something about that a couple of months ago. How like people are getting closer to actually like being able to fully jailbreak the PS5. Actually, yeah, I do wonder if it could be for something like that. I didn't consider that. Yo, that would suck. Because it's like, why would you guys ruin this for us? PS Plus uses DRM. Yeah, I saw people saying that. It might be a bug tethered to PlayStation Plus. Also in the week where the media is licking Asha's feet. Bro. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong, though. Lance said it's all PS4 and PS5. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I will say the fact that Sony hasn't said anything yet is interesting. Maybe they don't want to say anything until they actually can fix it. You know? Saros will sell at least 1 million. Returnal sold 600K at launch to under 10 million PS5 users. No reason over 10 times the users can't get that other 400K minimum. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it can do better than 1 million. A couple million would be really nice. Couple million would be really nice for Saros. I don't know if it'll happen at like once, but maybe over the like 3-month period, get to like 2.5 million to 2.5. That'd be great for Housemark. Yeah, so PlayStation did put out a blog post. Arc Raiders upgraded PS5 Pro PSSR upscaling available April 28th. So they say here, with the release of Arc Raiders Update 1.26 on April 28th, PS5 Pro players will now be able to benefit from the new upgraded version of PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. The machine learning-based upscaling technology analyzes game images pixel by pixel to reconstruct a sharper, higher quality output. The upgraded PSSR brings a range of meaningful improvements that PS5 Pro players will notice immediately, particularly in the demanding, detail-rich environments that Arc Raiders is known for. It says crisp, stable image, less flickering and shimmer. The new PSSR delivers crisp visuals across all environments, doing a great job at preserving fine details. Visual artifacts such as flickering and shimmering are significantly reduced. Okay. What else? So they go quite in depth here. And that update is dropping tomorrow. So the update is also going to be available on the base PS5 model. And those players will continue to benefit from TSR upscaling because PSSR is not available on the base PS5. So there you go. Why wouldn't a great game like Sorrow sell well? I think it's just the genre potentially. You're delighted, Titus. Good. I'm glad you're delighted. Another week and Sony becomes less consumer friendly. The price increases. DRM. What are they doing? The goodwill is going to dry up. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I've been saying for a long time that the only way you're going to get Sony to go back to the way they did things before, there's only one way. They have to be put in a similar position that they were in when they entered the PS4 generation. It will require. This is why, like, I always try to make it clear to people. You know how I am. You guys know how I am. I don't like posturing myself as the person where let me tell you what you should do with your money. Let me tell you what's best for you. I hate doing that. I used to be more aggressive in that way, but as I got older, I realized, like, you know, people in this, we're talking about video games, right? It's like people should be able to just do what they want. Like, who am I to say what people should and shouldn't like, what they should and shouldn't support? It's not my place. I'd have to be pretty full of myself, pretty arrogant to believe that I know what's best for everybody out there. I only know what's best for me. And the nihilism got to me, bro. Maybe a little bit, yeah. I mean, I used to feel much more like, let me tell you something, son, you know, like I knew anything, you know? Delusion. It's all just grandeur. Delusions of grandeur. But I always try to say this because I think this is the most important thing for somebody to keep in mind, right? If they're listening to these conversations, if you're paying attention to anything that's going on, understand that there's a singular action you can take. And that singular action is you either spend your money or you don't. And that is, I'm telling you, that is the only action that truly matters at the end of the day in this space. Because this space is business, just like all other consumerism, right? It's purely business. As long as you have that fundamental understanding that when you make a purchase, you are saying to whatever company you're buying from, yes. If you choose not to make a purchase, you're saying no. But I always try to let people know that if you're looking to make some kind of stand, right, you have to be careful with that because simply taking the action of not spending your money, while it is the only thing you can do, it's the only thing you can do, right? There's no guarantee that enough people are going to be in agreement with you. Just because you're choosing not to spend your money doesn't mean other people will. And that's where that's where you start to see people really try to persuade others and convince them, like, here's why you shouldn't spend your money. Here's why you should save your money. And it's understandable when you follow it, but it's just, I think at the end of the day, people just have to make their own decisions, man. You know, if the market wants to be dumb, let them be dumb. If the market wants to wisen up, let them wisen up. Say your piece and leave it at that, you know? But unfortunately, that's just not how things are. That's never how things are, bro. So with that being said, guys, support PlayStation. Make sure you're going out there and you're buying your PS5s and your PS5 Pros. Make sure you're subscribing to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. Make sure you're buying your games physically. And make sure you shun those live service games. All right. Sony can't put back what they broke because the younger generation don't even think the way we did. They think individual games or platforms and phones are the big overall platform. That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. The problem with taking a stand is a few thousand making a stand doesn't do anything. Some people will buy regardless. Yes. And that's, one could make the argument that a lot of the problems we see across many industries right now is a result of that. It's the result of the market as a whole consistently, constantly trading consumer rights for convenience and just always focus on consuming more. Now, the thing is, as much as your instinct wants to say that's bad, it's difficult to really, this is where it almost becomes a philosophical type of debate where it's like it's really hard to determine what's truly bad in like a free market, where it's like the market is free to decide for themselves. So it's like when people talk about upgrading their phone every year, a lot of people look at that and be like, do you really need to upgrade your phone on a yearly basis? Like, do you really need to do that? The answer obviously is no. Even the people doing it probably, yeah, no, I don't have to do that. It's not a matter of what you have to do, though. It's a matter of what you want to do. As long as the options exist, there's a chance there's going to be a market there. So it's it's not as simple as I think some people try to make it sound. It's like the idea of anti-consumerism. Anti-consumerism implies that pro-consumerism is a real thing. Pro-consumers, and I guess it depends on your view of this, but at the end of the day, these companies, and this is where you have seen me grind my gears against Microsoft here and their marketing, where I've always tried to inform people that never forget the golden rule. They want your money. Do not forget that. It doesn't matter what they tell you. It doesn't matter how good things seem right in front of you right now. As long as you never forget that golden rule, they can't hurt you. You know what I mean? They can only annoy you, but you won't be caught off guard. Where it's like, no matter where you are, they want your money. Just think about the deal they're offering. That's all that matters. And if you're content with that deal, if you feel like that's a fair deal and you can shake on it, pursue it. If not, don't shake on it. Save your money. And maybe, yeah, if you see somebody next to you, just say, hey, just a heads up, here's my 2 cents. If you're asking for my 2 cents, here's my 2 cents. That's my suggestion. That's what I'm doing. I'm out. That's all I think anything that goes beyond that is when it becomes emotional. And I'm known to get emotional, a lot of people are, but sometimes it can be frustrating because it's like you see the way people are reacting right now with the recent price increases. Of course, people are going to get emotional. Everybody's going to get emotional, but at the same time, it's like we have to ask the question, does this mean people are going to stop buying PlayStations? I don't know. If I had to hedge a bet, I'm going to say probably not. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the answer to that question in 3 months' time is, oh no, people stop buying. And now Sony's going to freak out and be like, actually, we're reducing the prices again. I guess I'm just saying, when you look at these things in a vacuum, it can be easy, I think, to get a sense of tunnel vision. And it's very normal. But when you kind of zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, unfortunately, it starts to make sense. And that's not an excuse. It's just, it's like when we talk about PlayStation making the decision potentially that they want to stop releasing their single player games on PC. And it's like, the question is, when they were dropping these games on PC, was it hurting their console sales? I think that the answer to that question is not really no. And the reason why I think that, I look at the data to try to back that up, where it's like when you look at the sales trajectory of the PlayStation 5, it's doing just as good as pretty much every other PlayStation console, even the PS4. And all those consoles, their games didn't go to PC. None of their games were going to PC. Sony wasn't doing anything with PC. So all throughout the PS5 generation, Sony is doing this with PC, and here we are. You know, it's like the PS5. Now, if you want to make the argument that the sales could have been better, I think that's a fair argument. But the question is how much better? And that's where I think the answer is also there in the data when it's like, okay, well, how well did these games sell on PC? It's like they kind of didn't really sell that well. So what that indicates is that if there were potential PlayStation buyers on PC, there weren't many of them. So while it would have had a potentially more positive impact on PlayStation console sales by not putting these games on PC, that impact would have been minimal at best. And that's probably going to be filed under the category of negligible for Sony, you know, where it's like, why did Sony put their games on the PC? They wanted more money. They wanted more sales. You know, they wanted more success overall. If they make the decision to stop doing that, what would drive that decision? It's just easy money, right? Easy money. Negligible money. You know, the amount they're making is negligible and is like, this doesn't even really make a difference. It's just not even worth it at this point. You know, whether we continue to do it or not, it doesn't really make a difference. So why even bother? Spend your time and energy on something else. I don't know how I got into that, but that's the point, man. Like people the market's going to speak. It always does. Is the DRM stuff actually true? Has Sony confirmed anything yet? It is true. It has been confirmed by people testing it. So it is true and it is real. The question is whether it was intentional or not. The intent is that hasn't been answered yet. And the fact that Sony is still silent is a little concerning. Where it's like, Sony, surely this wasn't intentional, right? Right? And Sony's just like, PS5 price increases. Arc Raiders PS5 Pro update. It's like, okay. We'll see, though. Concordian intent is real. Why wouldn't it be intentional? Because it's so... I guess because it's so shitty and underhanded that somebody left this comment on my video today. They were like, Sony burned through all, or they have no more goodwill left. So I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I can't argue that. It's like, yeah, dude, but here's the thing though. I do try to remind people that Sony does listen though. And that's why in this case, we can't necessarily send an immediate message. And this is where I want to add the nuance to the conversation. We can't send the immediate message of, you made a mistake, now you're going to pay, because we want to do, in order to do that, you have to stop buying Sony stuff. You have to no longer spend another dollar on the PlayStation platform. It's going to take time for Sony to feel that effect. We want something more immediate. This is where I do think now is an appropriate time, where this is the time to try to make your voice heard. There's no guarantee it's going to work, and it may just go out there into a void, but it's at least worth putting your 2 cents out there, where now is the time to let Sony know, we don't really like this, and this is pretty shitty, and you should change this. I say this because we have seen in the past, on occasion, like, do you remember when they tried to shut down the PlayStation 3 store? And people were like, no, stop this right now. And even though so many people were like, bro, what are you talking about? Who's even buying shit on the PlayStation 3 store anymore? And the truth is, there wasn't that many people buying. But it's the fact that the people who cared made enough of a fuss about it that Sony was like, okay, we'll keep it. And look, it's still open today. You know? The CMOS battery, that was another situation. A couple of years ago, there was this whole thing that came out where it's like, there was some kind of issue with the CMOS battery inside the PlayStation where it became like a big a big deal, and nobody thought Sony was going to do anything about it, and they quietly fixed it. And the important thing is they quietly fixed it. I want to emphasize that. Like, we just found out like a month or two later that whatever the problem was, they just fixed it. And they didn't make an announcement or anything. They just did it. It's interesting to see that type of stuff because it tells you that like they are listening. So make no mistake, Sony is listening right now. It's just a matter of if they're actually going to do something about it. And this is why I said in my video today that it wouldn't shock me if a week from now we find out that this is fixed. Sony doesn't say a word. It just is fixed. They'll never acknowledge it even was a thing. They've done that before, and I could see it happening again. Because, again, the alternative here is Sony's looking at us and saying, we pulled an Xbox One on you guys. And we didn't even make the announcement. And that is diabolical because it's like, bro, not like this. If this was like at the end of the PS6 generation and consoles maybe are like over or something, I don't know. Maybe that would make more sense. It would still suck, but it's like, okay, I guess. Now we really are entering a new generation where it's like, we're totally washed up. We're not even relevant to Sony anymore at all. That would maybe make more sense, but it's doomsday, man. Sony's doomsday. Do you think it's funny how many people think Sony's actually doing this? I will say you start to see the lunacy come out a little bit. And I only say this, I call it lunacy because it's like, you guys do understand, like, they are trying to run a business, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Businesses can make some dumb decisions, but there's like a line where it's like, they literally can't do that. They literally cannot do that. Where the amount of accounts that I've seen in the last 48 hours telling people that once that 30 days expires, you literally lose your games forever. You're like, that's it. They're gone. I'm like, and it's sad because you see people like they fall for it. It's like, that would be a good thing in this case. Go sue Sony and get rich. Okay. That's not like, this is where people need to be more realistic about, like, if you want to be taken seriously, we have to acknowledge the actual problem here. The actual problem really is in regards to people who, A, want a sense of ownership, and B, want to know that if they don't have access to the internet, they'll be good. Those are the two big problems here. And, trying to scare the shit out of people by making it seem like you're literally going to have your games taken away from you is insane. Where it's like, bro, come on. Like, that would hurt Sony to a degree that they could never recover from because they would be sued into oblivion. And even if they somehow could get away with that, how's that going to go? Like, how would that work out? You think people are going to continue to buy from the PlayStation Store knowing that? Absolutely not. So that's the one reason why I think like Sony, I don't know, should come out and say something, because it's like people, for some reason, people are thinking that's a thing. Although, if you read the terms of service, technically, Sony does state when you buy a physical PlayStation game, you don't own it. So people need to be really careful about how anal they're getting over the terms of service, because that's a thing that's existed since the PlayStation 1, as far as I'm aware. Sony has told you since the PlayStation 1, you don't actually own your physical PlayStation games. But like, it's like, what are you going to do, Sony? Come take my physical collection? It's like they actually do. But that's the whole thing, is they put that stuff in writing. They like put that in their terms of service. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's much different though if something like, when people see stuff like that written, in regards to like digital games, that is different because Sony can take that if they wanted to. But Sony's already getting sued right now. Yeah, see? Sony's no stranger to lawsuits. That's very true. Yeah, that's true. They're always getting sued. Capono, hold on. Capono, I got to ask you a question. You got a PlayStation? Don't lie. Capono, don't lie. Don't lie to me right now. Look at me. Look at me. You got a PlayStation? Don't lie. I'll know if you're lying. That's the whole industry, though. Well, yeah. I mean, the whole industry is going in this direction. Maybe Sony's trying to bait Microsoft. Why don't I mean? Maybe you're telling the truth, Capono. You're saying no. I sold it and built a PC. You know what? I was even gonna say, why are you here today? Then Capono, we're talking about PlayStation, but then I realized I put PC in my title. Damn you, Capono. He got me. He got me. Perfect image. With a direct donation, you're saying when it comes to this DRM, it's fundamentally bad. Period. When it comes to Sony first party, this gen, the majority wants realism. That's why GTA is going to win. Agreed and agreed. Well, halfway agreed to the second one. I mean, people do like realism. How much they like realism differs, though. Drive by Joe with the $10 chat says they've already had something like this and play. Try disconnecting your internet and playing a game for a while. It'll ask you to restore licenses, or you can't play the game. How long has it been in play, though? You're saying for a little while. I guess I really don't know. See, that's the irony of me talking about this is like I don't have firsthand experience. And Digital do know I didn't see that yet. How's it look? I've never been a huge fan of Jackass. I'm shocked they're still doing it. But yeah, I've had, PlayStation 5 since launch, and I don't think I've ever booted it up without it being connected to the internet. Like, I mean, there have been times where like I had to unplug my LAN cable for a little bit or something to, move it or whatever and like connect wirelessly. But I guess that's kind of the irony here about me talking about this is it's like, that's all it really is for me is just talk where my console's connected to the internet, man. I try to just be aware of like what this means for the future, if it's true though, if it's real and how it could affect some other people out there. This is why, man, I just, to me, video games are like, specifically with PlayStation 2. That's the thing. It's like the last bastion, it feels, for genuine, like, I don't want to say like genuine physical media because it's not like physical media doesn't exist outside of gaming. I just mean like it's a place where it's still naturally relevant. I don't know if that's the right terminology to use, but like the people who are still buying physical games and supporting it are not doing it just in the name of collecting. Some people are, but generally speaking, there's a reason why, if you, and I always reference this, if you go on Amazon and you type in PS5 games, you're going to see so many physical PS5 games that you're like, what? Like it'll be shocking how many physical PS5 games there are, especially for games you never even heard of. Indie games, crazy indie games. I mean, really small indie games. And that's not just for collectors. It's because there is still a genuinely relevant physical market for PlayStation games that exists. And it's big enough that it encourages these developers to be like, yeah, we are going to do a physical version. Sometimes they come a little bit later, but I guess I'm just saying, like, I always try to support that because I understand that once we cross that horizon, it's not that physical will just go away. At least I don't believe it will. I don't think physical games are just going to go away. But I think what's more likely to happen is the only people left are the like collectors, basically. Like they're really die-hard purists, enthusiasts, and I think they're going to be, pretty rare. I do think it just falls in our favor when there's a general consumer market that's supporting physical media. You know, not necessarily because they're enthusiasts and they feel like, I got to build my collection and, you know, I need to make sure the game is on the disc. And, you know, I'm not saying that, but just hopefully I'm communicating this correctly where it's kind of like the way it was before, you know, before the digital age where how did people play video games? They bought games at stores and then they played them. You know, and then they put their cartridge in or their disc in, and then they played them. We didn't really, I guess. I mean, and to be fair, nobody could have truly predicted like how rapidly the digital age would take over. But I guess with the proliferation of the internet, that was always bound to happen. But yeah. I know, right? That's the crazy thing. You would have thought Nintendo would be the last bastion, but it turns out, and this is why I don't trust Sony. Truthfully, I don't, because it's like, yeah, I would have thought like Nintendo's the last one, dude. Nope. They're just like, yeah, we don't give a shit. You know, like we are like you can still buy physical Switch games, but there's limitations now. That's the way it is with Game Pass. You stay offline. There's a 30-day check-in to make sure you're still subbed. Unico, you're saying read my question, MBG. Which question? Hold on. Is the check-in only for PS Plus games? People are speculating. They're speculating that this is a bug that stems from something regarding PlayStation Plus. Because, yes, I do believe that PlayStation Plus has that same 30-day check-in thing. Like, for example, all the games that you have with PlayStation Plus that you download for Essential, if you are offline, I think, for over 30 days, like, you don't have access to those games until you reconnect to the internet. So, I mean, it's possible. It could be some kind of bug. But here's what doesn't add up to me, though. What doesn't add up to me is and it's just like I just don't believe it. That one account, Does It Play, said that an anonymous insider told them that this was a bug on Sony's part. Like, it was shipped with the last update, but they didn't like fix it immediately because they just didn't think it was a big deal. Like, it's not a priority. And I'm like, I mean, it to me it reads more like, let's just do it and see if anybody notices. And it's like, okay, well, people are noticing. So, and you know, I'll be honest, if Sony, I said we need to just let this happen naturally, and I meant that. I said that yesterday. I'm like, we have to get to a point where, yes, when we cross a threshold where something like this exists and nobody even knows because nobody cares, then it's fine. Because that's just where it is. Nobody cares. You know, nobody even knows, nobody even cares. If this was a test for that to see like, but if that's the case, then it's like, yeah, you got caught. You have the answer to your test. You know, you tested the waters, and the answer is don't. It's not time. Don't do it. People are noticing, and people are getting upset, and try again next time. You know, better luck next time. Anyway, we're going to pivot from that. We're going to pivot from that. Let's talk more about this, the PlayStation PC stuff. The last thing they want to do is bring more light to a legal thing, to an illegal thing. Ice Cold Cabbage with a super chat saying, if the only people affected have no internet, how do you ever know who's been affected? They can't go on X or YouTube and tell you. Well, that's true. That's very true. And I guess that's the whole thing, right? Is there are people who are connected to the internet, potentially chronically online, but they're always testing this stuff out. They're always watching the back end and seeing, they're like the watchdogs, right? Arguably, if those people, those accounts you see on Twitter, if they didn't exist and they didn't do what they do, no one would know about this right now but I guess my thought here is that surely somebody, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say like somebody's game would expire and then it'd come online and be like, hey, but that's the thing is like the only way you let a game expire is by not being connected to the internet. So it's word of mouth, bro. It is kind of funny to think that it is literally the people who are connected to the internet, but want to make sure that Sony and others can't do stuff like this without being held accountable or being questioned, right? Or making others, spreading the awareness. And I can never be against that because it's like, that doesn't hurt me. That hurts Sony. And I'm okay with that because it doesn't actually really hurt them. It's just, we have to always try to keep this in mind. That these companies, dude, they can, if they were able to like tell you, hey, we're going to put a timer on how long you can play this game. And here's how much we're going to charge. But this timer exists. And this timer is 1 week. And then we're taking that game from you. And then the only way you can continue to play is you have to pay for it again. Like they don't want you to own anything, dude. Anything. They don't want you to actually have any true ownership. And that's why I don't fault the people who are doing this, that are being like the watchdogs and trying to keep these companies accountable, because it's like the saying exists for a reason. You give them an inch, they will take a mile. But it's a matter of like, do you care about that mile? And this is where like, well, I'm somebody who likes to buy physical games, and the majority of the physical games I buy, all those games are on the disc. So I do know, even though I'm not planning on playing offline, but I do know that like I own these games. Or do I? Because I agreed to Sony's terms of service, and in their terms of service, they tell me you do not own our physical games. So if Sony wanted to right now, if they wanted to, they could send somebody to my home and say, we're confiscating your physical PlayStation games. And technically, they could get away with it because I told them they could. I agreed that I don't own these games. So do we really own anything, guys? Cheese and chainsaws, you're saying Xbox being dead, now Sony can do these things. Oh no, have you been paying attention, Cheese and chainsaws? Xbox ain't dead. Oh no. Have you been seeing the headlines? Have you been seeing the memes of Asha Sharma? Xbox is back, baby. And better than ever. So Sony, what are you doing? It's even worse than we thought. Just buy a PlayStation. I don't know, man. I can't think too deeply about this stuff, though. Don't listen. I can't think too deeply about this because I'll take it all the way. I will take it to an irrational point where it's like, okay, why do you care about ownership? I don't know. Do I actually truly own anything? What is ownership? Really? No, really, like, what is it? Because as far as I'm aware, I'm here for a limited amount of time, and then I'm gone, and I ain't taking nothing with me. So it's like, oh, well, you get to pass on what you own to others. It's like, okay, I suppose. I'm not sure who the hell's going to want my video game collection. Do you even have free will? I feel like if I amass a large enough physical video game collection, that's just going to be a burden on somebody where they're like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Now I got to sell this shit. No, you're supposed to keep it. I ain't keeping this. I don't know. It's weird because like my mentality with like ownership of stuff, it is, I guess, maybe altered by the fact that when I grow up, yeah, I mean, minimalism is an interesting thing as well. I'm always fascinated by minimalism, but like growing up for me, I was always moving. My parents they were always moving to a new town, to a new home, new apartment, whatever. And over the years, I just had to let go of shit because it's just like, yeah, I just can't take it with me. There's not enough room, or maybe I lost it, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I think it just kind of conditioned me over time, where it's like, you know, like everything burns. I mean, guys, did you ever do your research? Come on, man. Did you ever? Yeah, that's why, because of the mob. We know Xbox is dead. Microsoft will help Sony push in this digital direction. That's the thing, ironically, right? Xbox could be dead. They could be alive. It doesn't matter. They want the same thing. You know, that's what makes the whole Xbox One and PS4 thing so funny, because there was like a handshake where like they were winking and nodding at each other, like, we're doing this together. And Sony was like, pretty shitty reveal you had there, Microsoft. Some evil shit going on behind the scenes, bro. I mean, look, guys, if you go do your research on how the universe itself ends, the big rip, I don't know, there's another one, that the big, something else. There's all different ways the universe is apparently going to end. And it's like, if you want to know where all your ownership's going to, where's the stuff you own? Where's it going to end up? It's going to end up in a black hole somewhere. Good one, Michael. You got me with that one. See how I set you up there? You're welcome. You can't sell the games you rent on Game Pass. Well, you know what? Even black holes die. Okay? So I don't want to hear nothing about nothing. Don't tell me about what I own and what I don't own. You can't even control the thoughts in your mind right now. You know how I know that? Because when you dream, those are your thoughts that you can't control presenting themselves. So you think about that. See what happens? You see what happens? Sony comes out, they implement DRM. We're talking about it. We're talking about ownership, and before you know it, it's another existential crisis. Thanks a lot, Sony. Thanks. Really needed that today, you know? PlayStation PC ports didn't hurt PS5 sales. Maybe too much for now. Maybe not too much for now, but it would certainly in the long run. I can agree with that. I mean, I feel like if Sony got more aggressive, if they went in the direction that some people were saying they should, where it's like you got to go day one and drop your games day one, I definitely feel like, I don't think it would have like tanked their sales, to be clear. I don't think it would have tanked them, but you would see a dip, you know, like it would be noticeable. I still maintain, even though I'm not against exclusives. I like exclusives. I think they're cool. You know, it adds a flair to the platform. But if Sony, I was prepared, dude. I'm like, because I thought about it deeply. I'm like, Sony, if going into the end of this generation and the PlayStation 6 generation, you want to go day and date on PC, like, you're definitely going to sell less consoles, but I think you'll be fine. Like, I basically came to the conclusion that PlayStation will still sell more than enough to justify its existence. And it'll still do well for Sony, collectively. But I don't know that you would see them hit the high watermarks that they've hit in the past. I think it would slowly start to encourage people over time to be like, okay, well, you know, maybe I'm going to go to PC now. Which is interesting to see that they're not going that direction. funny how PlayStation fans are so infatuated with Game Pass and Xbox. Oh, by the way, we can buy games on Xbox. I'm going to say this, Grooven. All right. And this is no disrespect towards you, so please don't take any offense to this. I'm just speaking for myself. Dude, I talk about Xbox on my channel because I have to. I'm going to be honest. Well, I don't technically have to, but I'm encouraged to do so. It is good for my business to sometimes, or maybe when there's a lot of headlines to talk about Xbox. I need to assure you, I don't give a shit about Xbox, dude. I give a shit about two games, Forza Horizon 6 and State of Decay 3. And I'm just being this brutally honest because I'm not trying to people I think oftentimes think that I have some kind of major horse in the race. It's like, I don't. I do and I don't. Technically I have a horse in the race where it's like I can benefit from talking about Xbox, but part of it hinges on me having to care. And as the years have went on, dude, this whole thing with Asha Sharma, and I can't do it anymore. It's like I'm fucking beyond tired. This is no shade towards the fans. This is no shade towards I literally encourage people. Are you saying that comment was not directed at you? Oh, oops. I did that thing again. Well, thank you for the clarification, Grooven. But yeah, what I'm saying isn't necessarily directed towards you either, right? Where it's just, and Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying it's the ultimate MAU move. LOL. Everyone forced to log on. Dude, oh my God. Stop. You're probably right. It is. You're a fucking statistic now, you son of a bitch. No, but listen. Go a month without talking about Xbox detox. I was going to. I started yesterday. Chat. This is the chat's fault. I didn't say nothing about Xbox. I didn't say nothing. You know what? That's it. You talk about Xbox in my chat, I'm shunning you. I'm ignoring you. Meanwhile, somebody's going to drop a $50 super chat saying some crazy shit about Xbox I'm going to have to read. Don't do it. No, but look. That meme is unhinged. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny because it's like the jokes write themselves, dude. But listen, the truth of the matter is, I look at what's happening with Xbox and I see the way the fans, the hardcore fans, the hardcore ones, the people who are really fucking into exclusives are bad, they're good, they're bad, they're good. They're over enthusiastic about everything. Dude, I couldn't give a shit about what they want to do. All I care about is how involved I let myself get with it. Where it's I know what Microsoft's prerogative is. It's like when people come into my chat and are like, don't you know Sony? Yeah, I do, actually. I do know Sony. They want my money. They want all of my money. If I let Sony pull me up by my fucking ankles and shake me down, they would. I'm well aware. I'm not in some diluted bubble of fanboyism where it's like Sony was my friend and they would never want to screw me over. No, dude. But that's why I'm just saying, look, man, go where you want to go, enjoy what you want to enjoy. I'm not going to criticize you. I just don't expect people to criticize me. Where it's yeah, I do want to play on my PS5 Pro, and I am going to buy Soros on my PS5 Pro, and I'm going to play that shit. And when Sony shows me the PS6, as long as it's not $1,200 or something, or $1,100, I'm going to have interest. I'm going to be excited. And so I guess what I'm just trying to say here is that I have played out the whole, you can't do this. You know what I'm saying? There you go, Josh. That was the one. Heat death. Thank you. Heat death is the most common theory for the end of the universe. Basically, all matter will eventually stop moving and there will be nothing. So enjoy what you need to enjoy for the time you're given. See, Josh puts it all in perspective. Thank you. Don't you know Sony, bro? Don't you know Sony? Don't you know? Huh? Thought you knew. You don't know Johnny P? Sony is like a mob boss, aren't they? What I'm just trying to say, though, is that, like, I've played the whole, I'm done trying to posture myself, because there was a time where it was legitimate. And it was legitimate for a long time. Where I said, I fought what I thought was the good fight. I pushed back against certain things, certain people, certain notions, because I thought ultimately, like, we're in alignment, you just don't know it. Like, I want Microsoft to do A, B, C, and D because I think it's going to make Xbox better. And if Xbox is better, not only does it get more of my attention, but it's going to make Sony better too. And then I, over time, started to realize that with the people that were left, that were engaging with me, not the people in my chat, but like outside of it, occasionally some people in my chat or in my comment sections, I started to realize, like, they're in this at a level where it's like all there's left to do is fight, because I will never convince them of anything. If Microsoft says we're doing this, if Microsoft says we're not doing exclusives, if Microsoft says we do want everything to be an Xbox, and if Microsoft says, you know, we are going in this direction, and then literally a couple months later they say, actually, we do care about exclusives, not everything is an Xbox, and we want to get back to the console roots. It's the people that are willing to just literally go in a circle, follow the leader, follow Microsoft. They're like, essentially saying, like, you can do anything and we'll be here. I try not to come off that way towards Sony. I do try to, to make it known that I do have options. But yeah, there are times where it's like, I do need to make it clear to people that, I can't always agree with the criticisms that people have, because I don't feel that way. Not because it's like, oh, you're wrong, Sony's great and you're an idiot. No, it's not that. It's like, I think you're probably right, or at least a part of what you're saying is true. But I think there's just a misunderstanding that what applies to you doesn't necessarily apply to me. And what applies to me doesn't necessarily apply to that guy over there. And I think that's all I really try to argue for, or kind of advocate for, where it's like, it's why I feel it's important that when people, not to make it about me, but it's just when people, I think, sometimes are being a little bit unfair towards me, it's like, you do realize, like, I demolish Sony, like, on a monthly basis for, just this past month alone, for Bluepoint, for Fair Games, questioning why Herman Holst is still in charge, questioning what's going on here with the DRM thing, demolishing them for the price increases, being like, dude, don't be surprised if your console sales do fall off a cliff. Like, you're only going to hurt your business doing this, seemingly. And then maybe you won't. And if you don't, well, then I was wrong. And so was everybody else, apparently. And that's all I try to, but it's like, so you're leaving Sony, right? It's like, well, no, like, those things, it's like, we need to, this is where I always try to tell people, like, you're just looking at you're only looking at one side of it. What's the other side? The other side is, I'm playing games all throughout the month on my PlayStation. There's new games releasing on my PlayStation. Soros is coming up. My day-to-day engagement and experience with PlayStation is not bad. That's what I'm trying to communicate. And that's why I try to say, like, that's why when I look at the whole thing that's happening with the exclusives conversation. Oh, what's up, Luna? Luna likes this new, she likes this new cat tower I put here. I'll give her some treats. You know what I appreciate so much about Luna, though? I appreciate that she doesn't, did I do the string and door trick? No. I appreciate that she doesn't harass me. She just sits there patiently. like a good cat. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying anyone who runs defense for corpos deserves to pay. Well, that's the thing, man, is I don't think defense is ever necessary. You know, nobody should be actively defending a corporation. And I think I've come off that way at times, probably because I fail to properly articulate where I'm coming from. And to be fair, other people are probably making that mistake too. But yeah, no, a billion-dollar corporation doesn't need defense. They don't know who I am. They don't know who you are. They don't care about you. You know what I mean? Like, dude, they just see you as a dollar sign. This is why I always try to tell people, like, you don't have to be cynical about everything. Just because that is a truth, right? Like, is it true that Sony and Microsoft are greedy, purely capitalistic corporations that want to grow at any cost? Yes. It's hard not to be cynical when you know that truth. But this is why I tell people, like, you just got to focus on your own day-to-day and see how it leaves you feeling. And that's why I am just honest with people when it's like, I'm not saying I'm not acknowledging. Like, I will acknowledge the shortcomings and I will be critical towards Sony where I feel like they absolutely deserve it. But I'm not going to lie and say my day-to-day experience on PlayStation is a bad one, that I'm not enjoying it. That would be a lie, because I would literally be coming here and telling people, like, yeah, I'm not playing PlayStation. I'm not enjoying it on PlayStation right now, man. This sucks. I hate this. Meanwhile, it's like literally my actions. I'm sitting down every day playing games and having a good time. Generally speaking, that's why I try to keep these things in perspective. And the thing that I always try to fight for is the preservation of that experience, where it's like, when I identify the things that lead to that, what is it that keeps me turning on my PlayStation, sitting down and playing? What is it that keeps me engaged with the PlayStation ecosystem and constantly returning? I've identified what those things are, and that's why I advocate for them when I can. And when Sony's doing things that seem to go in either the opposite direction or potentially start to erode at those things, like, for example, one of the biggest mistakes I made, and I can admit this, where nobody would ever have to use this against me because I'll agree with you, is like, remember when I thought Sony doing a live service push could actually be a good thing? To be fair, I wasn't the only one, but I thought the Bungie acquisition was a good thing. I thought it was really going to help them. I thought, even though there will be some failures and there will be some mistakes along the way, I think Sony knows what they're doing with this live service endeavor. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And that's where I was maybe a little too presumptuous there. I was a little overconfident in that, like, dude, see, like, you could call it being open-minded, but people were warning me at that time. They're like, no, dude, you don't want to encourage Sony. You want to be very much against this and talk about how it's going to be a failure and how it's going to be the worst decision Sony makes, because it's going to hurt their single-player output. It's going to hurt the entire generation, and it's going to define this generation. And I'm like, you guys are being too negative. You guys are being too extreme about it. Thank you. Clapping seal. Nice. Nicodemus, a member for 28 months, says, Sony sucks, man. I want to go to PlayStation only. But the predatory practices they keep doing is why I will stick to PC and keep my PS5 for exclusives only. And that's fair, like, I'll never discourage somebody from doing that, because if that's genuinely how you feel, like, you can't enjoy your time playing on PlayStation because there's too many things Sony's doing that are interfering with your enjoyment, then you're doing the right thing, And if you're finding a middle ground where it's like, if there's really a must-play game that they're releasing, maybe like Wolverine or something, you'll have the PS5. So you're giving Sony a little, but not a lot. And that can work too. That's fine too. This is where you're doing the only thing you can, which is you're not giving Sony all the time you otherwise would. If they made certain changes, then maybe you would. That's fair. Is Sony cool with it? I mean, that's the thing. Like, Sony, they have their own prerogative, right? Aren't you the same person who said Sony didn't want to increase prices? Well, I mean, I may have said that at some point, but It's because there's, I think, a fundamental, again, this is where the misunderstanding, if somebody like me says Sony doesn't want to increase the prices, they take that as me like, holy shit, you're fanboying out. And what are you, crazy? Like, Sony hates you. And what are you, an idiot? It's no, what I mean by that is like logic. I'm speaking logically. Logically, they don't, a better way to put it is they shouldn't want to increase the prices. Because it's like, what's your whole business model? Your whole business model is to offer an affordable home console. Keyword being affordable. That's how you sell 80, 90, 100, up to 120 million units, by being an affordable alternative, right? To maybe premium PC gaming. The moment you start increasing the prices from a from a financial perspective, that may seem good. Does Sony want more money? Yes. But see, this is where I try to say, if I were to say Sony doesn't want to increase the price of their console, the ultimate translation there is because I'm well aware they want more money. And here's the thing, Sony, if you want more money, make it easy for people to gain access to your ecosystem through the vector that is your console. You want less money, increase the price of your console, watch console sales over time slow down and drop, and watch how you have less and less people engaged in the PlayStation Store. Watch how you have less people engaged with PlayStation Plus. Well, if you're saying it sounds like shilling, it's not. It's not shilling, dude. Shilling, I mean, to insinuate that there would be any level of shilling going on is crazy to me. Only because it's like, dude, what do I have to gain from that? Trust me, like if Sony wants to pay me large sums of money to shill, I'm here, Sony. Whatever. No, that doesn't work like that. I'm not being paid. I'm giving you a logical analysis of like, look, man, Sony's in the business of selling consoles. If Sony turned and said, we don't care about selling consoles anymore. If Sony said, like, for example, if Sony comes out with the PlayStation 6 and it's $900 to $1,000, and we're like, Sony, one question, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, no, we don't care anymore. We don't care anymore. Like, we're trying to just get money right out of the gate from anybody who buys a PlayStation 6. This isn't about selling a large volume of consoles anymore. I would then say, oh, okay. And then I would turn to everybody and say, yeah, Sony definitely wants to increase the price of the console because they're literally telling you that's how they plan to make their money. When I say they don't want to increase the price of their console, I'm saying that under the belief that they are not planning on destroying their business model. Because if they destroy their business model, then they destroy what they've used to build PlayStation up for the past 30 years to get it where it is right now. And if that happens, I'm not going to be the only one leaving. You get what I'm saying? Do you see how these things are connected? If they destroy that, not only do I leave, all the 99% of the core fans leave. And if they lose that, what are they left with? They're left with all the casuals, of course, but casuals can be very fickle. You know, they're moving from one thing to the next. And yeah, I just don't think it would be. It's why when I do look at the price increases, I do raise an eyebrow at Sony because I'm like, well, would I leave? Well, I mean, it depends on how far they go. It's like I said, man, like if Sony does a showcase next year, they show me the PlayStation 6, they show me exclusive games, and I can hopefully afford to buy it, assuming that all the games they show me look good and I want to play them, absolutely, I'll be there. You know, it doesn't mean that it's kind of like how if they do an event next month and it's a big state of play and they show me Intergalactic and I think Intergalactic actually looks good. I'm like, oh shit, that actually looks really fun. They show me the Faye game and I think the Faye game looks sick. I'm like, this actually looks great. And then they show maybe the first trailer for Fizzant or something. I don't know that they'll do that, but just, you know, hypothetical here. But then they're like, also, here's Fair Games and Team LFG's garbage live service. I'm going to look at those and be like, oh, that's awful. Oh my God, kill it with fire. What are you doing? And then I'm going to redirect my attention to the things they showed me that I actually think look fucking awesome and can't wait to play. However, if next month there is no Fizzant, there is no Intergalactic, there is no Fae game, it's here's Fair Games, here's Team LFG, and here's like a fucking, I don't know, a random third-party exclusive we secured. Yeah, like I'm going to lose my shit and be like, what are you doing? Are you out of your minds? Because that would scare me into thinking like they're going completely in the wrong direction, you know, like they're killing the thing that I still enjoy. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying if PC is the expensive option, then PlayStation still looks like the cheaper entry level to gaming, just at a higher price, but no other option. Switch 2 is weaker. And you're not wrong about that. That is the risk that Sony takes here, where it's like people like us who are, you know, paying attention, we know like why something like the PS5 Pro is going up to that price because of what it's capable of doing and the components and the RAM apocalypse and all that stuff. But you're not wrong in that to the person who's not paying attention, to the more casual person who is traditionally going to buy a PlayStation 5 to play Call of Duty, to play Madden, to play Fortnite, whatever, you name it. Yeah, they're not even thinking about PC. They're not paying attention to the fact that the prices of PC are going crazy. They don't care about the RAM crisis. They just want to know, why the fuck is this thing so expensive? Why is it more expensive now than it was before? So that's why it's like, when I say Sony doesn't want that to happen, because Sony understands, like, people don't give a shit what the reason is. And this is why it does always look a little bit strange on the internet, because I see it all the time. You know, there are PlayStation enthusiasts that have accounts, and they're always, it does come off as like they're running defense. It's like, but here's why, here's why, here's why. And it's like, you can explain why every day, all day. There's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, it's good to be educated. But this is where it's like, you got to have some common sense that like 99% of people don't give a flying fuck about the why. You know, they just want to know. Let me back that up. 99% of people will ask, why is this PlayStation $650 when it's supposed to be $500? And then the moment you open your mouth to go answer that question, they're like, I don't care. I'm not buying that. I'm not spending that much money. That's the point. The truth is, like, people don't care why. People care about the bottom line. You want to know why these corporations are so cynical? It's because most people are also cynical. The market is cynical. And what we call cynicism might actually just be, you know, being realistic about things, right? Where it's like, what does the consumer usually do? They look at the total. They want to see, how much is this going to cost me? You know? And when they see that, they're going to react. You might get some people who really are inquisitive and want to know the exact reasons why, and maybe, just maybe, they'll be like, okay, that makes sense. That's fair. I'll buy it. Again, the vast majority of consumers, they're just going to look at a number and be like, I either can or can't afford that. I'll ask why, but even if you tell me why, it's not going to matter because I can't afford it. That's why people call it being priced out. And that's why I'm saying Sony's in the process of pricing people out. Whether or not it's their fault doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters at the end of the day is, are you pricing people out, yes or no? If the answer says yes, you're kind of in the process of fucking yourself, because that's your business model. So when I say they don't want to increase prices, what I should say is it's in their best interest, unless they completely are planning on shifting their business model, to not increase prices, because this is going to backfire on them. It's why I don't believe the reports that I've talked about this. It's like the PS6 is going to be $800 or $900. I'm like, there's just no way. Like, I'm sorry. If Sony comes out and says, here's a PC launcher, we're dropping everything on PC, then I'll say, okay, now it's going to be $900. Anyway, we have Mateto with a super chat. He says, "Hey MBG, how many more self-inflicted wounds from Sony are we, their fans, supposed to tolerate? Studio closures like Japan Studio or Bluepoint, live service games nobody asked for that end up failing like Concord or Marathon, and that are going to fail, like the upcoming Fair Games title, unnecessary console price increases, and now this DRM." Well, I mean, this is where I'll answer that a couple of ways, Mateto. Number one, a lot of fans already stopped tolerating it and they've moved on. I literally encounter people here that were ready to go at the start of the PS5 generation. They've since been lost due to one or a few of the things you pointed out. And I've never tried to tell those people to come back. I've always said, well, that's up to Sony. You know, I hope they listen to you too, man, and I hope they turn things around. But I think a lot of people who still stick with PlayStation, a lot of the core fans, you know, we're not talking about the casuals here, but the core fans, I think they stick to it for the reasons that I've cited, right? Where it's like, do you know like how radically different my conversation, not even just conversations, but my overall feelings towards PlayStation would be if there was no Soros tomorrow, if there was no Wolverine in September, if when I think about the upcoming summer state of play, I'm not anticipating seeing a few more, like more than one, certainly, like big single player titles. I can tell you that, like, I probably would be gone, you know, or at the very least, if not gone, just I'd be that guy that's like, yeah, my PlayStation, I still play it maybe, like I buy some third-party games on it, but I'm not engaged with PlayStation in the way that I once was, and I'm falling further away from that. That would be the reality. Sony has gotten lucky that they have planned accordingly, where for every self-inflicted wound they issue, they're also, I don't know, they're like still making plays while hurting themselves, if that makes sense. And again, it's just like, it's literally like right now, like, oh, we increased the price again for Southeast Asia, and there's this weird DRM thing. Oh, you know, the more bad, you know, this doesn't look good, right? It's like, no, it's what the fuck's going on? It's like, here's Soros. And, you know, as somebody who has a PS5 Pro connected to my TV, and it's like, well, I want that. Yes, I do want that. That's what I have been asking for, and you are delivering it. So thanks, I'll buy that. But that's why I'm saying, like, right now there seems to be, and Shadowlink, I see your super chat, bro. I'm gonna read that. I'm just trying to make sure I can riff off of super chats for like hours. But what I'll say is that, like, Sony seems to be in this weird halfway point right now where there's no denying that Sony has spent the entirety of this generation moving their business model. Like, not, let me reword that. Dividing their business model. Where they're like, okay, here's our home base. Our home base is the core PlayStation player that expects single player games. We're going to have that. But we're really worried about establishing a new base over here. So we're going to put so much time, effort, and resources into doing that, into building that. And we're going to have to try our best to make sure that that doesn't come at the expense of our home base here. The reality of the situation is it did come at the expense of your home base. However, how much expense? Are we talking like you just burnt your whole home base to the ground and you just sucked up all the resources there and put them over here and this whole thing blew up too? No. But it's enough that people feel it, people are aware of it, and people know. And Sony hasn't even been hiding it. This is why when we talk about like them pulling away from PC, rumblings that they're cooling down on the live service, they're shutting down their mobile division. I'm like, you're coming back to your home base, aren't you? Like you're finally waking up to the realization that this shit over here, you've just been throwing your money and your resources into a giant pit. You've been just burning it. You realize this is going nowhere, right? And now you're going to come back and actually start, you know, rather than building your base horizontally or expanding horizontally, you're going to just build vertically now, as you should have been. you know? That's my read on it because that's what I want. But right now, and I would say for the entirety of this generation, Potato, just like the point I'm trying to get at is that has not been made clear. You know, at no point has Sony just, we're back. Like what you expected from, you know, the PS4 generation going into the PS5, and we clearly like fell short of that to a certain extent. Just for some people, massively fell short of that. We're coming back to that. They haven't done that yet. It's only these rumors that we're hearing that seem to indicate they might be getting ready to do that going into the PlayStation 6. And, you know, that does give me hope, a small amount, but it makes me think like, okay, well, it's easier for me to get behind being excited for, even though if people say it's only 2 games, it's like Wolverine, Saros, yeah. But this is because like Sony's waking up. Like, it's why I was ranting so aggressively yesterday, where I was saying that like, how is Sony still letting fair games go? It's stuff like that that does make me nervous, where it's like, I thought you guys understood by now. Like, I thought there was a dialogue happening here. Like, you get it, right? And seeing the situation with fair games makes me nervous that I don't know that they do. Because it's like, shut up. Stop telling us about the live service. We're giving you Wolverine Saros. Shouldn't you be happy? It's like, well, yeah, but I'm looking at the whole package here. And it's like, you guys are still running up against the wall. Why? Why are you trying to run from us, Sony? Huh? Shadowlink, you're saying MBG, it's okay. You don't, it's okay. You don't shill. I think you meant to say shill. You have a reasonable yet biased take on these things also. If it's something you like, you stick by it. Some don't get it. Well, and I appreciate that you understand that, Shadowlink. And I think most people here understand that, where it's like, it's why I've always said, not to beat a dead horse here, but I've always said that, like, for the people out there who get off on watching certain, you know, specific clips of me, I always try to inform them, like, you do realize you are willingly, I don't even want to say they're willingly doing it. It's that the people who put the energy into trying to skew my channel in one direction are purposely cutting everything else out. They could show it to you. They could show you a 1-minute clip saying, here's something that MBG said that sounds kind of foolish. Here's something he said that actually makes complete sense. Or undoes that foolish thing he said. You know? And they purposely leave that part out. And I'm just simply putting this out here because it's like, yeah, I get it. I don't expect people to look at my channel and just automatically assume that, you know, that they're that like, oh, you know, you have perfectly reasonable takes about everything regarding not just PlayStation, but things outside of PlayStation. I don't expect that. I just don't expect people to come up with the opposite mentality either, when I feel like that's not what I'm doing. You know? It's like the person saying, like, aren't you the guy that said that Sony doesn't want to increase the prices? It's like, do you have any idea how many things I've said? Do you have any idea, like, how in depth I've went in explaining all of these different things and all of these different aspects? And maybe you don't, but that's why I'm here to explain, you know, and talk about it in the hopes that people will listen. Also have Vlund, and I need to hold on. I have to make sure I didn't miss. Okay, Vlund, you're saying here with the super chat, if you're thinking of coming to Steam/PC, Australia is now charging Steam $800,000 a day if they don't give them user info. The hobby we love might disappear. Is that true? That's insane. And Valve's just paying that every day? I mean, as of right now, I don't have any plans to switch to like Steam or PC. It would take a lot. You know, that's the thing. I am entrenched pretty deeply, I would say, in the PlayStation ecosystem. This is why I make it clear that, like, yes, Sony would have to do a lot. they would have to do a lot to uproot somebody like me. It's possible. It's certainly possible. But they would have to really fuck up beyond repair, where it's like, I am out. Peace. Because I'll tell you what, if I leave PlayStation, dude, I don't think I'll ever be going back. You know? Because it's, again, do you remember, listen, I think the most important, if you need to know what Sony could do to just make me be like, I'm out, I want to refer back to the last PlayStation showcase they did in May of 2023. This showcase was the closest Sony has ever gotten to making me be like, I don't know about this. And that was because what they did was they came out and they're like, here's fair games. Here's the Concord hamburger. And here's Marathon. And every time they would show these games, it's like PlayStation Studios logo. And you're like, and then this is what they show you. And they're all CG trailers. And they all look fucking atrocious. I mean, the only thing that like maybe looked like maybe was like Marathon. But even then though, it was like, okay, but that's like the third live service shooter game you're showing us. Sony, where the fuck are your games? And then they're like, worry not. Spider-Man 2 demo. Spider-Man 2 demo. You know, and I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that's great. But what is going on here? Like, you know, that was when the bubble burst, dude. I'll never forget. And of course I fucking cosplayed as Snake that day. You know, and they had a lot of great third-party games, but the point is, like, all PlayStation fans were in fucking shock. Because that was the realization that whoever's running this shit is totally and completely, I mean, wildly out of touch. To a very concerning and scary degree. This is why I'm still haunted. Like, I can't help but get emotional when I think about fair games, because it's like, dude, they thought, like they were like, they're gonna fuck, this is our show opener. That's how good this is. And it's like, you should be fired. It's like, you shouldn't have a job here at Sony PlayStation. Yeah, like Foam Stars and shit. Destruction All-Stars. It's like, this, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. There's a rot inside of PlayStation that I want to believe it doesn't require me to literally leave the platform for them to get it. It shouldn't require that. Because the thing is, if I leave, it's because I no longer care. You know, I've been down this road before. I remember when I left Xbox, I still did care, certainly. And I cared enough to where even, you know, everything I'm enjoying on PlayStation, I'm bringing it right to Microsoft's doorstep. I'm like, Microsoft, come on, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing? And, you know, I realized eventually over time, like, dude, you can do that as much as you want. There's a reason why you left. And it's great that you want to hold out hope that they're just going to, like, listen to you and listen to others and just change overnight and stuff. And it's like, dude, look at where things are headed. They're going in the opposite direction you wanted them to. Maybe just let it go. And that's where I said, I was like saying earlier, like, I don't care about Xbox, dude. I mean that. Like, I sincerely mean that, where it's like, dude, people think I get, like, upset or mad or like jealous or irritable or any of these negative emotions when I see Xbox players enjoying certain things. It's like, no, I don't. I come off that way at times, but the reason I come off that way is because I still sometimes want to believe that, like, there's maybe a future for me with like this platform, you know, and there just isn't. It's fine. It's like, I've made amends with that, where it's like, dude, you were there with the 360, you were there with the Xbox One, and you had many years being engaged with the Xbox platform, getting achievements, investing in it, and you walked away. And the only way they were ever going to get me back was either if Sony completely fucked up while Microsoft capitalized on it, or if Microsoft just stepped it up. And for a lot of people, they look at what Microsoft is doing now and they're like, this is Microsoft stepping up. Like, or this is them getting to where they need to be. And I'm like, but their games are like, they're telling me to buy their games on PlayStation. Do you see what I'm saying? So these, like, they just don't mix. And so when we talk about the idea of like, maybe one of the reasons why Sony is not fully listening is because there is a lack of competition. That is another reason I've cared so deeply. And it's like the only thing I'm still kind of latching onto a little bit, where it's like when I look at the momentum that Microsoft's starting to gain, I'm like, keep going. Please. Like, I'm not saying that like you guys don't understand, like, good. Like, it's why I know I joke around, but it's like, dude, I don't care if everybody flip-flops on exclusives. Like, do it. Let Asha Sharma come out and be like, Sony, you're getting the fucking boot to the neck. You're getting the high heel to the neck, Sony. Exclusives like, that's all it is now. And we're going to out-console you, bitch. Like, I hope it's that, because that would wake Sony. That would slap Sony. Microsoft slap Sony. That's what I'm telling you to do. But we're not there. That's why I tell people to calm the fuck down. That's why because I want to be excited with them. But there isn't a good enough reason to be excited yet. Regardless of how enthusiastic people are about Helix, regardless of how enthusiastic people are about Asha Sharma saying we might bring exclusives back, I'm like, that's cool. Like, feel something towards that, but calm down ultimately, because at the end of the day, this may just be, no, yeah, Gears is going at PlayStation. Don't forget that the director of Halo said Halo is on PlayStation going forward. Like, and that is the opposite. Like, that's not going to, that, I guess I feel like that is not competition, you know? And so the last thing that I'm kind of holding on to here, that I'm attempting to hold on to in regards to Microsoft and Xbox, it seems like there's a really, really good chance to me that it's not going to be what I think. It's not going to be what I want. I may as well just let it go now, you know? Anyway, you like PlayStation, but at the end of the day, it's a platform to play games. I don't care as much what Sony does with their studios. Third-party games make up most of my gaming on it. I mean, that's fair. That's totally fair. Blonde, you're saying in the new Black Flag, they made the women worse looking. People stated they DEI'd the remaster. Hold on now. Let me go check. Wait. Are you trolling me? Why can't I get a clear image of this woman? Hold on. I can't, for some reason, I can't save any of these images. They're all from Facebook or Instagram. Hold on, let me go check. See what shows up. All right, well, that loads. Raven X0, you're saying if Sony PlayStation were to go under, in which I wouldn't think that would hold on. If Sony PlayStation were to go under, in which I wouldn't, that happen. I think you're saying you think that won't happen. Another will take its place. And if that company does what Sony did before, I buy. Interesting. Raven, I think I understand what you're saying. You're basically just saying that, like, if Sony, if what people think is going to happen happens and Sony just goes under, then then that, like Apple's just going to come in and take their place. Something like that. Dude, wait. This can't be real, bro. Hold on. Are you telling me people are actually everything that many people keep quiet about, even supposed anti-woke folks, are supporting Assassin's Creed Black Flag. The game will have censorship on women's cleavage and some aesthetic change to female characters. Lucy Baldwin will be the first openly female pirate in your crew when you never had one till the very end of the game. Bro, what? I'm not going to lie, man. At this point, it's just for fun, right? Surely. You guys got to see this. You got to see this shit, man. Groovin, you're saying, so you mean to tell me that Sony's games are flopping because there is no competition? Well, which games are flopping? Groovin, I'll be fair here. If you tell me which games are flopping, I'll let you know if it's because of a lack of competition or not. But Sony has games that have done extremely well. Sony has some games that have not done well and flopped. So you have to, because I can tell you right now, like a game like Wolverine, Soros, I'll say. Soros doesn't exist because of Microsoft. Like as much as I would like to say it did, Soros exists because Housemarque is a good dev that wins a lot of awards and brings a level of prestige to the PlayStation platform, which is why it's kind of okay if it doesn't sell amazingly well. But even when you look at something like, let's say Intergalactic, I don't think Intergalactic is like, we got to make sure this game is going to be a 10 out of 10 so that way Xbox feels it, like, I don't think so, dude. I think that exists because it's just Naughty Dog exists. Sony owns Naughty Dog, and it's a game that's going to help try to sell consoles. But if you tell me which game specifically you're talking about, I could get more in depth with that. Okay, so I'm going to show you this, and I think people might be... Guys, this is fucking real. Like, is this real? Somebody has to tell me this is real. This is apparently a controversy right now with the Black Flag remake. I mean, are we fucking serious? Ubisoft. Why are you making me soft over here, huh? What are you doing? You gotta be kidding me. There's no way you said she looks like a man. Marvel's Wolverine. There's no way you just said that. You looked me in the face and said that. She looks like a fucking man, bro. Groovin, you're saying the fact that Sony's struggling with games is the point that I'm making. Well, but that's the thing. Like, there's many games they're not struggling with. It really does depend on which game. Like, if you want to say, like, Concord and maybe Marathon, I agree. If you were going to sit here and talk about games like Wolverine, God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, games that Sony's released this, even like Astrobot, it's like, dude, these are games that are not struggling. These are games that Microsoft would kill to have. Truthfully, I think any platform would love to have those games. I don't get it. It's just a red-haired woman. What are you supposed to be looking at? I'll tell you what it is. You ready? Look, come on. They shrunk her boobs a little bit, bro. So clearly woke. I mean, look at this. Look at that. That hideous fucking creature. I can't do it without breaking, dude. This looks great. Are you kidding me? You know what? Cancel the game. Cancel the fucking game. They don't deserve it. Dude, Rex, like, show me some skin. I don't see enough skin. I ain't buying. Oh, man. I mean, look, if you want to acknowledge that, you know, they touched it up a little bit, they shrunk it a little bit, fine. But who the fuck cares? Bro, if this is why you were playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Okay? I laugh at you and I pity you. Okay? Grow up. Be a fucking man. Okay? Be a man. Goddamn. The devil's in the details. I know, dude. I should have zoomed in further. AC2 had more than that. Let's see the remake. Hold on. I want to see if there's other images because this shit's actually funny. There's got to be more. Oh, wait. Hold on. I don't know if this is real or not. I think some of this shit is AI. Oh, here we go. We got another one. Here we go. We got one more image. I don't see the problem. Like, is there a caption for this? Lucy Baldwin is the new female character introduced alongside two more in Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. The typical female character is introduced to simply please the new audience, even though it's clear that they're going to add a backstory to her to make her a typical strong, empowered woman. Ubisoft doesn't learn and keeps making the same mistakes with female characters. In this remake of Assassin's Creed, we will have censorship and female empowerment. I mean, oh, all right. Well, here's what you could do. You ready? Don't buy it. Are you look at this? How could they empower this female? How dare you? Whoa, wait, what just happened? Okay, too much empowerment. I lost the image, guys. Oh. Too much empowerment. What are we doing here? 2 out of 10. Too much female empowerment. Get it out. DLSS 5 can fix her. Oh, there we go. See? That's Ubisoft's mistake. Not enough DLSS 5. Here's another one. Here's another one that people are pointing out. Oh my God, people are such losers. Dude, how are these not the people that get made fun of? Like, these are the people that need to get made fun of. Because it's like, dude, what? Why are you... You're missing the point. Look, this is another one. Whoa! Wait, what's... Okay, that's an official Assassin's Creed image. Hold on. Why is it all zoomed in like that? It's weird. Here's another one. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. I'm just focused on the face. I don't know what she's touching there. I'm going to assume it's like something that's allowed to be shown. But come on, man. Like, you think it's a man's chest? You would figure that out very quickly, wouldn't you, Michael? What's going on here? Oh, man. Dude, it doesn't even look bad on either, though. What are people smoking? It's Edward's heaving chest. Okay, well, apparently my chat's very gay. That's okay. You're allowed to be. I accept you. Why is my chat so gay? All right. I lost a lot of viewers. They're like, oh, no. Man, MBG, I was with you there for a while. And then you started getting distracted by at least they gave him a manly chest. It's a fine line, you know? It's a fine line. I canceled myself again. Oops. I didn't mean to. I'll sure know a lot about men's heaving chests. Yeah. Self inserts everywhere, dude. That's crazy. All right. All right, what were we talking about? We were talking about how PlayStation's so much better than Xbox, right? Right? The meme never gets old. No, it doesn't. I feel like... All right, hold on. I need to get out of here. Is it just me, or are things... I just went to go check if there was any more news. I mean, there's the Ark Raiders PS5 Pro news. The Resident Evil movie, the PlayStation Productions produced Resident Evil movie, is out September 18th. And they released the official logo, and it's just Resident Evil. I wonder how that's going to be. I feel like, wasn't the last Resident Evil movie just fucking awful? Like a dumpster fire? I mean, all the Resident Evil movies I feel like have been dumpster fires, right? Steam controller officially confirmed for May 4th. No console news, though. Oh, okay. Eesh. Yeah, weren't they supposed to release the console by now? Eventually, conservative. Eventually. When I build it out large enough, I'll show it to you. Okay? In time. In time. I know. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's the same director who directed the movie Weapons, which was pretty good. Did you see the Call of Duty movie director basically hates gamers, called us losers? Why do they always hire people who hate games? Hold on, I did not see that. Call of Duty movie director, let me see. Peter Berg. Call of Duty movie director claims playing video games are weak and pathetic. What are we doing? Dude, what the actual fuck are we doing? Anyway, this is proof. This is proof that the people who are being paid very handsome salaries to do a job, and that job, oh, by the way, Vlun said it's not that one. They made women fat. Wait, where? Did they? Wait, where did they just make the women fat? This is just proof that you don't have to know what you're doing. You just don't, man. Anyway, it says here, You have to be careful when you make bold statements on social media because there's a good chance it will come back to bite you in the ass eventually. Now that's what happened to Peter Berg, the director of the upcoming Call of Duty movie. Turns out he has a view of video games and gamers that isn't exactly flattering, at least judging by a 2013 Esquire interview, which has now been highlighted. In it, he was asked his position as a kind of public advocate for American masculinity, what his view on video games depicting war, what his view is on it. And he replied, quote, pathetic, keyboard courage, can't stand it. The only people that I give a Call of Duty get out of jail free card is the military. They're out there serving and they're bored and they want to entertain themselves. Okay, maybe kids? Uh-huh. When Esquire reminded him that even elite soldiers play video games, he says, quote, some of them do, but I tell them I think it's pathetic. I think anyone that sits around playing video games for hours, it's weak. Get out, do something. Now, mind you, this is the guy who's like, I'll make the Call of Duty movie. I'll make the Call of Duty movie. I hate gamers, and I think you're a bunch of weak, pathetic pieces of shit. But yeah, I'll make your movie. Because I want money. You know what I think is weak and pathetic? It's weak and pathetic to say that and then still decide you're going to make the Call of Duty movie. That's weak and pathetic. You know what's strong and not pathetic? To say, I'm not going to direct this movie based on a video game because I look down upon gamers. I could respect that. Stand your ground. But of course he ain't. He ain't passing up that opportunity. But the movie's about military and he loves the military. All his movies are usually about them. There's a great irony here. Maybe he is the right one for the job then. God, what is a Call of Duty movie going to be like, bro? And surely Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's going to be in it, right? Hmm. 1441cc of two-wheeled glory is powerful. What I hate so much about guys like that is that they will sit on their asses watching sports ball all weekend, and somehow that isn't a waste of time. I mean, look, man, I firmly believe that people who have that mentality of video games just simply do not understand. You know, like, I think, to me, it always comes off as it's like being assertive towards something you think, like, you just tell yourself you understand, but you actually don't know anything about at all. And, you know, it's the epitome of maybe ignorance, but I can never get like mad or upset about it genuinely because it's like you just don't know what you're talking about. That's fine. A lot of people say stuff all the time that they don't know what they're talking about at all. Um, you can only hope that a person like that, when somebody informs them that, well, that's kind of rude to say, but video games are actually pretty great, and everybody seemingly loves them, even people in the military. Like, to me, the crazy part about that quote is when he doubled down when it was pointed out that, you know, a lot of people in the military love playing video games, right? And he's like, you're still pathetic. Like, okay. I guess that's kind of crazy to me. But all entertainment is technically a waste of time. You know, technically living is considered a waste of time. Actually, I'm going to take it even further. You know what I would say to this guy? Be like, guess what, bro? Time doesn't even exist. So shove it. Time is an illusion. Do your research on quantum physics and the theory of relativity, and then get back to me and tell me what is or isn't a waste of time. Time isn't real. Vlund, you're saying they're all making more movies than games now. Dude, it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming, the amount of like video game movies. And you know what? Yeah, dude, there was a Silent Hill 2 movie that came out, and apparently it was just fucking atrocious. It was so bad, nobody even talked about it. I mean, you could tell him his life work gets outsold by the thing he considers a waste of time. That's true too. Yeah, that's true too. All right. Oh yeah, there's a Battlefield movie being made. So we're gonna see Call of Duty and Battlefield compete at the box office now. There's 36 confirmed gaming movies and TV shows coming out over the next couple of years. Well, I guess that was always going to happen eventually when Hollywood like kind of did run out of ideas and they ran out of their own like remakes and reboots and stuff to do. That is a lot. That's too much. Um I mean, the Resident Evil movie. I don't I can't say I'm excited about a Call of Duty movie, but I'm kind of like curious about it. Like what is a Call of Duty movie going to be like? But I'm definitely interested in the Resident Evil movie. I've watched all the Resident Evil movies and they've all just been bad. But I've been watching the Resident Evil movies since I was a kid, dude. I was watching Resident Evil movies since the very first one that came out like 2001 or 2002. The very first one, and I've watched everyone since. And I'm like, God, this is just awful. But I couldn't help it. It was the second one they made with Nemesis. Shit was crazy. The guy fucking ran a zombie over and was like GTA motherfucker. And I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad. It's pretty bad, but it could be worse, I suppose. But I don't know. PlayStation Productions is behind this new Resident Evil movie, and they got a good director, that Zach Kreger guy. So I'm like, I'm curious. Hopefully it's actually good. We need like a good Resident Evil movie. It sounds like it's going to be terrible. Well, hold on. What is the new Resident Evil movie going to be about? Let's see. It's giving me the plot of Resident Evil 9. Maybe if I type in film. The 2026 Resident Evil film, directed by Zach Kreger, is a big, scary ride focusing on Brian, a medical courier navigating a snowy, monster-filled landscape during the Raccoon City outbreak. It's an original story, not a direct game adaptation, often described as the horror version of Mad Max Fury Road. A medical courier named Brian. A medical courier named Brian is delivering an organ to Raccoon City General Hospital on a snowy night, hits a woman with his car, and becomes trapped in a rapid, horrifying outbreak. The tone and style is described as a lean and mean 90-minute high-octane survival experience, focusing on one protagonist's journey through a chaotic, monster-filled world. That actually sounds pretty sick, dude. I'm not going to lie. That sounds good. But I'm definitely skeptical because, it is Resident Evil, so hopefully it turns out good. Resident Evil really needs a win in the movie department because they have yet to get one. And God knows they've tried. So I'm rooting for it. Oh yeah, there is a Gears of War movie in development, right? I mean, the Weapons movie was really good. I struggled with the ending though because it just got, as is often the case with horror movies and thriller movies, the third act is either going to be underwhelming because the buildup was so good that there's no way the third act can live up to the hype. So it's underwhelming, or the way you subvert expectations, which I think is what that movie did, where it just goes off the rails. And it's just like, it's not meant to make you feel good or bad. It's meant to make you go, holy shit, And I think that movie Weapons or whatever succeeded in doing that. But I struggle with horror and thriller movies because I always know the third act is probably not going to live up. You know? Yeah, exactly. The movie Heretic. Because it's so funny. So many of these movies, man, like they really build on a sense of intrigue, you know, not knowing and leaving you on the hook, wanting, you know, you wanting the answers. And so when the time finally comes to get those answers, another great way, and this, it's a coin flip, but a lot of times with third acts, with movies like that, they go in the direction of ambiguity, which can work both ways. It can work in your favor, but you have to really pull it off just perfect. Um, you have to give just enough to make people feel satisfied, but leave enough off the table that you can kind of interpret it the way you want. Which movie did I see? There was that other movie. Was that movie Long Legs? I think that's kind of what that did. It gave you some answers, but then it kind of, if I recall correctly, it left you in this ambiguous spot. And I didn't like the way that movie handled it, where I was like, wait, what? I'm like, that's wait, what? And we have a Pro Taking Out Trash coming in, renewing their membership. Pro Taking Out Trash, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That actually gets us, it moves us from 0 to 1. And I forgot to say my whole thing today. If you guys want to support the channel, consider becoming a member, renewing your membership like Pro Taking Out Trash has. Definitely appreciate it. Let me bring that up here and add that. Thank you, man. What other, I feel like, I know there was like supposed to be a Ghost of Tsushima movie, and that one sounded really, it sounded promising because they had the director, like the guy who was directing John Wick or directed the John Wick movies, but we haven't heard anything since. We haven't heard anything. So, you know, I almost feel like it kind of got canceled. There was supposed to be a Days Gone movie. There's no way that's happening. No chance, right? But now we know there is going to be, even though it's not with Sony, well, it is technically with Sony, but there's going to be a Metal Gear Solid movie. The reveals for mystery box stuff is often underwhelming. If a Ghost movie is made, it needs to be in Japanese. You know they won't do that. Yeah, I mean, I know that Sony did the Uncharted movie. They're doing a sequel to the Uncharted movie. Still so weird to me that Mark Wahlberg is Sully. That's so weird. They did a Gran Turismo movie. I don't know how that did. They did the Last of Us show. They're still doing that. They did the Until Dawn movie. The Until Dawn movie was okay. It was okay. It wasn't that bad. The Prestige. The Prestige is a great example of a movie where the payoff was definitely there. We're like that. Okay, that's a good twist. I think. That was a great movie, dude. Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, directed by Christopher Nolan. Fantastic movie. They don't make them like they used to. Ghost of Sushi. They should make it a series. What other TV series? Well, did you guys hear about the PlayStation the Twisted Metal series? So, like, the Twisted Metal TV series was actually way better than it had any right to be. I watched both seasons, and they were really good. And apparently, they, like, fired everybody. It's really weird. Let me see. Twisted Metal TV series update. It was renewed for a third season by Peacock. That was announced on November 18th, 2025. Following the success of the second season, David Reed will take over as the showrunner, replacing Michael Jonathan Smith. And the upcoming season is expected to feature higher stakes, larger scale car battles. But apparently there's been like cast changes. So Mike Mitchell, who played Stu, is not returning for season 3, citing creative and financial changes. And like that's really weird because he played like a pretty major part of the show. So I don't know. I thought season 1 and 2 was really good. We haven't gotten a Twisted Metal game, but you know, getting a series that does it justice and does a pretty good job is the next best thing, I suppose. An MGS movie will be about Meryl rather than Snake. You know that's how they'll do it, and he'll be a side character. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they did that, bro? Wish they did some of them animated, like into the Spider-Verse, but they cost a lot. Well, the Bloodborne movie was just announced. That'll be animated. You hope that PlayStation doesn't implement DRM. If they do, all PlayStation players need to sue Sony. That'd be the final nail in the coffin of gaming. I don't think they're going to implement DRM in the way that, I mean, I talked about this earlier, but I want to believe they're not going to because, yeah, it's pretty egregious. I'm not going to continue to talk about it only because I am very much assuming we're going to get an update, but I mean, I guess it's interesting to think that if we don't hear anything, then it's just, yeah, that's what it is. But let's see here. Brad Lynch. I'm not sure who Brad Lynch is, but he says, I've been told some Valve internal pricing targets they had before and after the RAM crisis. Steam Machine is affected the most, while the Frame not so much. But then he's not going to share the pricing. Okay. Why would you say that and not say what the price is going to be? How much do we think the Steam Machine is going to be? Twisted Metal 4 is the GOAT. I don't know. I feel like if they did that, you're saying it would be like MGS2 where Snake is like a mythical figure just featuring. I mean, yeah, I guess it did work in a sense with MGS2, but I feel like if you're doing a Metal Gear Solid movie, I don't know, man. Choosing not to make Snake the main character would not. I don't think that would go down well with fans at all because I think people are already very skeptical as is. If DRM happens, jump ship to Xbox and Nintendo. They give full video game ownership. Once they stop giving ownership to your downloads, you reject and fight it. I mean, sure, but I'll tell you this right now, man. If Sony does pull the trigger on this, Microsoft, if Microsoft explicitly says we won't do that, then we'll talk. But I'm fairly certain Microsoft would follow. Same with Nintendo. I think that's what, and that would be the unfortunate reality. Most likely, the most likely unfortunate reality. But no, if they came out and said like, no, we're not doing that, then it's like, let's talk. That would be a big deal. That'd be a good PR win. Snake is just a shitty clone. Yeah, Solid Snake, not the main character, just some shitty clone. Hey. I mean, I love Big Boss too. You know, I like them. I mean, they're basically the same. That to me, that's so funny. Like this is what makes the story of Metal Gear Solid so funny in a sense to me, where it's like Big Boss and Solid Snake are pretty much almost the same. You know, they're not, but it's, you know, people, they see Metal Gear Solid Delta, are like, oh, that's Solid Snake. Like, that's not Solid Snake. What do you mean that's not Solid Snake? It's not Solid Snake. MGS5, The Phantom Pain. Oh, it's Solid Snake. That's not Solid Snake. Do I think the age verification is going to stick? I mean, probably, yeah. I don't think that's going anywhere. The PG version. I mean, can we talk about the plot twist of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain? Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk about how in Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, it's revealed you were never playing as Big Boss at all? How do we did Kojima pull it off? I don't think he pulled it off. I'm gonna be honest. He tried, but it was so weird, man. Like Kojima took such a massive risk with MGS5. He kind of, I mean, I like the high concept of it in MGS5. Well, dude, Raven, you're saying you knew that from the beginning. I remember watching that channel like Snake Plissken or Python Selkin. Why did I say Snake Plissken? Python Selkin. And they were pushing this conspiracy theory for Metal Gear Solid 5 that you're actually playing as Gray Fox. And they had everything lined up. They had it lined up so perfectly. I'm like, Kojima, I don't know if this is what you planned on doing. You should probably take this idea because this is a good idea. This is crazy. And that's not what it was. I think Kojima fucked up MGS5 because for those who don't know, I mean, the game is like, 11 years old now. So spoilers for MGS5. If you don't know by now, you're probably never going to know. But like the plot twist of MGS5 is when you beat the game, you wake up as Big Boss. So you play Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. Mother Base is under attack. You try to save it. You can't. Your helicopter crashes and, Big Boss falls into a coma. The Phantom Pain takes place 9 years later. You wake up 9 years after your coma. And you're Big Boss and you're rebuilding Mother Base and you're out for revenge and all this shit. And the whole game, you're meant to believe that you're just playing as Big Boss. But then at the end, it's revealed that you're not. You're actually just a random. You were the medic that was on the helicopter with Big Boss. And they decided to do this big, I don't know, to like, they did surgery to make you look like Big Boss. And they brainwashed you to think you are Big Boss. And they did this to actually protect they made you his doppelganger, basically. And they did this to protect the real Big Boss because the real Big Boss was actually, it's Metal Gear Solid logic, bro. The real Big Boss was busy making like Outer Heaven, the real base. So in other words, like everything you were doing, was a front to distract from what the real Big Boss was doing. We're still talking MGS spoilers, yes. Somebody tell Nicodemus in the chat. Somebody tell him that I'll like wave my hand when I'm done talking about it. Come on, you don't know the plot. You don't know the plot of MGS5. There's no way you didn't know from the start. He's talking to you. Plus, it's Kojima. He does the cheesy plot reveals. I mean, I knew. Do you know what underwhelmed me and disappointed me? I didn't think it was just going to be like, yeah, you're just a random medic, bro. And I remember when I listened to why Kojima said he did that, he said he wanted to just use like a blank canvas random person because it's supposed to be you. It's like if you were in the chopper with Big Boss and then you become Big Boss. He wanted to make the player genuinely feel like you are Big Boss now. Like Big Boss could be anybody. And I kind of get that on a meta level, but from a story perspective, I just felt like, that's not doing it for me, man. Like, it was supposed to be somebody relevant, somebody different. Like, that's why I was like, maybe it is Gray Fox. So I knew from the beginning, one of the things that I thought was so weird is how, like, if I recall correctly, when you start up Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and it's like, I'm afraid you've been in the coma for 9 years, and they put the mirror in front of your face, and you get to customize the look of your character, but then you're just Big Boss, and I'm like, what? And you know, it was to build up to that big reveal. And yeah, there's so many hints. I mean, like, dude, I do want to say, like, the first hour of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is like one of the greatest sequences of video games ever created, where like you wake up in the hospital, shit's hitting the fan, you have no fucking idea what's going on. Like, it made me wish the whole game could be like that, dude. And I think that's what threw me off about the Phantom Pain. Is like, that's how the game opens, but that's pretty much like the only part of that game that's really like that. And it just would have been so insane to get, I don't know, like a 12-hour linear Metal Gear Solid experience that was similar to something like that. But that was so fucking cool. And like, you know, the guy Ishmael, it's actually the real big boss. He's got like bandages over his face. I don't know. One of the things I would love to see Konami do, but I don't know if they have the balls to do it or not. But I think it would be a big win for fans, is like, when they eventually remaster or re-release MGS5, they should bring David Hayter in to re-record Kiefer Sutherland's lines. Or maybe keep Kiefer Sutherland's lines and have David Hayter actually record the real big boss's lines. Something like that. That would be really cool, because, yeah, it was pretty... I mean, I think Kiefer Sutherland did a good job as Big Boss. You know, he did good as Venom Snake. But I don't know, man. He's no David Hayter. You know, David Hayter's the iconic voice. You think all that huge crap in the Phantom Pain never happened? Just Mantis screwing with Venom. He's just hallucinating the whole time. Big Boss in MGS5, he had to have massive surgery reconstruction. MBG, not to interrupt you, but I was speaking to PlayStation support, and they confirmed all games bought after April will require DMR checks every 30 days. Are you serious? Holy shit. So is this is really what it's going to be then? Sony's just like, yeah, we did this. Can we rely on that, though? Let me see. Is there any updates? I've been waiting to see if we're going to get any updates. I don't know. A lot of people still believe this isn't real. It's a mistake. Others believe it's 100% real, and this is the, you know, intentional. No updates yet. Sony isn't saying shit, though. I don't know, man. That's crazy if that's what they told you, though, Wicked. I mean, that might be our only indication that maybe it is real. Like, why would they say that? Why would they say that? Wait for Jason. Guys, do you think this would further... I want to ask a question going back to that. Do you think this would further explain why Sony is moving away from PC? Maybe? Because they can't really enforce a type of DRM like that outside of PlayStation? Or am I overthinking it? How does this affect physical? Well, I talked pushing polygons yesterday. I had this conversation. You can if you want, Wicked. It's up to you. I mean, you don't have to. There's no pressure. Pushing polygons. I was saying yesterday, though, like, there might be some kind of like middle ground here. I mean, I think it's naive of me to assume this, but it's hard not to, because it's hard not to assume this, because everything we've heard confirms, or I don't want to say confirms, but says that Sony's going to support physical with the PS6. There will be disc drives. There will be a PS6 you can buy with a disc drive, and there will be physical PS6 games. So, like, my middle ground here is like, if Sony is going to do this, where it's like, we are doing aggressive DRM, which sucks, but it's like, you're doing it and you're making it clear that if you buy digitally, there's going to be intense DRM. If you're connected to the internet, it doesn't matter, right? But it's going to be there. But we're still going to support physical games. That to me is like the only outcome where it's like, okay, like I can't be mad at that because it's like you're straight up telling me you don't have to buy these games from our store and this doesn't have to impact you at all. But I guess there's a couple of like gray areas there where it's like, okay, but what about, like, did anybody else notice that Marathon didn't get a physical release? I noticed that. Same thing with that God of War Sons of Sparta game. I noticed that. You think that's an insane take? They're going to attack their core player base. Well, yeah, that's true. You're right. 90%. But that's the thing. That, like, that's where I guess I view it from the angle of, like, I'm now going to spread the word. Like, you're saying they're going to basically attack their player base of 90% because 90% of PlayStation players are buying digitally. That's where I would start to yell towards that group. Start buying physically. But that's the problem though, Cheese and Chainsaws, is that, like, I think you have to ask yourself, like, why would Sony pull this trigger, dude? The only reason they would pull this trigger is because they know they can get away with it, because they know, like, I'll ask this question, right? And I'm asking this because I'm just trying to rationalize why Sony would do this in this way. The people who are posting on Twitter right now, freaking out, are those hardcore PlayStation players? Are those the core big spenders, the actual, like, main? Are those the people that Sony care about? Is what I'm asking. Something tells me probably not. Something tells me that the people who are, but I could be wrong. I mean, maybe some of these people are yeah, they're like physical game advocates that are like, yeah, dude, we have massive collections and we've supported Sony for years, and there could be a mix of that. But the reality is, what you said is true, that this affects the vast majority of users on PlayStation. I guess there's maybe this kind of spark of hope in me that's like, if this does become that big of a deal and Sony's not going to back off, we have an opportunity here, guys. Golden opportunity. Only going to get it once. Time for that physical comeback. I'm serious. We could get a movement going. Not many things I believe in, but I'm like, let's get people angry. If Sony's not, if Sony really is doing this, it's like, let's get people angry. Let's spread the awareness. Buy physical. Buy physical. Because then because think about it. Like, when people say Sony can't do this for legal reasons, like, if they are going through this, like, they could get sued, but maybe that's Sony's alternative. Maybe this is how Sony plans to kind of get away with this, is it's like, you try to sue Sony, their lawyers are going to basically say, well, you can always buy physical. We still make physical games and you can still buy games physical. What they would say in response to the games that are digital only, I don't know. Maybe that's where you could get Sony by the balls. But I'm just saying, man, like, this could be our opportunity to convert that 90%, convert 10% of them. Now only 80% of people are buying their games digitally. Convert another 5%. Now it's 75%. Suddenly 25% of people are now buying their games physically. And then keep pushing. Push, get the movement going, bro. I don't know. I would love to see that, because it would blow up in Sony's face so badly, where it's like, that's the opposite of what we wanted to happen. It's like, well, you got what you wanted, Sony. You got your DRM, but physical ain't going away. Unless Sony wanted to be real bitches and be like, we're shutting down physical now. Fuck you guys. Then you'd see a backlash like you've never seen before. So I am taking this kind of stance of, like, if Sony's pushing, you should push back too by buying your games physically. And only buy the physical games where the games are on the disc. I mean, you don't have to get that crazy about it, but just buy your games physically. If Sony does this, I'm going 90% PC. Devil's Tree, buy your games physically, bro. Just make sure the 10% is physical. Delwyn Jones with a super chat. Thank you so much for that, buddy. You're saying, I could totally understand why the death of Tony Todd, Insomniac would take a step back, pause for a minute to figure out what is best for them in Venom, the Venom game they're planning. But I still think it'll be next year, the same day as the PlayStation 6. I mean, yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, Delwyn, and I mean, it seems pretty clear that the Venom game is not canceled, but it also seems pretty clear that it ran into a couple of development issues because, well, I mean, how could it not? You know, not only is Insomniac balancing numerous games at one time, but you know, I guess I just figure, honestly, I think what you're saying is spot on, where Tony Todd, like, he was going to be, you know, essentially the main character of this standalone Venom game. So, and his passing was pretty sudden. It just kind of happened out of nowhere, which is very sad. So they probably had to spend quite a bit of time just really figuring out, like, do we continue to use, like, what if they get permission? Did you guys see how, like, Val Kilmer is in a movie, even though he's been dead? Where Val Kilmer's estate gave the thumbs up to, like, use, like, they said he would want this, like, bring him back with AI. And it's kind of freaky in a sense, right? It is pretty freaky, but everybody's cool with it. Like, everybody who he signed off on it, I think, before he passed potentially, or, you know, said like he would be cool with something like that. And the estate, it's disgusting. It's unsettling to say the least. You know, I mean, it definitely feels like it's potentially crossing a boundary, but I guess, you know, the people who are in charge of it, they're okay with it. So I guess what I'm just saying is, like, if Tony Todd's estate was okay with it, I don't know, maybe they would, but I mean, the backlash they would get, you know, even if they got the permission, would be pretty severe. But God, Tony Todd was so damn good as Venom, bro. Like, it's such a loss, you know, where I'm sure if they do have to recast, and they did, they'll get somebody that's very good. But man, Tony Todd had some big shoes to fill. He had like the perfect Venom voice, dude. Like, perfect. Shit sounded so scary. And thank you, Delwyn. I really appreciate the super chat, bro. And I'm hoping that game is gonna be a PS6 launch game as well. It seems like it's lining up for it. Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying physical is also a license. Games made going forward will be keys. You also need to keep connected for login regularly, I'd bet. It's a digital world. And you say, and physical games made going forward, I mean. And Vlund also says, didn't they add DRM to physical some time ago? As far as I'm aware, right now, like, I have, you see my physical copy of Until Dawn. As far as I'm aware, that disc in that case has the entire game on it. And if I stopped paying my internet bill and just lost internet tomorrow or next month and just didn't have it for the next 3 years, I can turn my PlayStation on, put that disc in, and play the entirety of Until Dawn. And that's it. I don't need to update my PlayStation, nothing. I could, like, factory reset my PlayStation, put that disc in, and it'll play it. As far as I'm aware. The only I think you might need to connect your disk drive to the internet one time, though, if I'm not mistaken. And you're saying DRM free or pirate games the only way forward. Well, that's a thing, dude. Like, another reason I think Sony would be just so fucking stupid for doing this. And really quick before I say that, though, like, Cheese and Chainsaws, with what you were saying about physical, I kind of am worried about that too. Like, if they are that serious about the DRM, they wouldn't let physical games be the alternative, unless they really believe that that's their way to not get sued into oblivion. That's the only that's the only thing I can figure. But again, that doesn't even hold up because it's like you have live service games and some smaller games that are digital only. So you would have to provide physical offline versions of those games. GOG offers DRM free on all their games. You can download them, put them on discs or multiple SSDs if you want. Shit, man. That's crazy, actually. That is crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, goddamn. I was going to say one of the reasons I think Sony would be fucking stupid for doing this in this way, certainly, is like, think about what you just said. GOG exists, Steam exists. Like, people can go somewhere else. But that's the problem here. Like, the problem is like, but who, and I know this sounds bad to say this, and I know that some of you guys care, but I'm like looking way outside my stream. I'm looking outside the internet. The question's gonna be like, who cares? And that's a great fucking question to ask. And that's kind of where I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of have a defeatist mentality where it's like, dude, I don't think anybody cares. I'm just gonna be totally real in that I think for every one person you see on the internet that's like, fuck this, I think there's like, 500,000 more people, like 300,000 more people on PlayStation that don't even not only do they not care, they don't even know about it, and even if they did, they wouldn't care. I just say this because it's we've seen this, guys. Like, that's the problem with this is we've seen this. All you have to do is look at every other industry, and the reality is convenience wins out every single time. Every single time. So you have to ask the question, are you going to stop playing on PlayStation now? Somebody will say, well, why would I do that? The response will be, well, Sony's implementing a new DRM policy. Again, assuming this is true and they don't change it. Wicked, I'll go check that out in a second. Assuming this is true, it's like, well, what's DRM? It's like, digital rights management. So, okay, well, what does that mean? So basically, what it means is that game you just bought. Oh, you just bought Saros. You bought the digital deluxe edition, huh? Interesting. So you spent $80 on it. You don't own that game. Okay. Well, if you don't connect to the internet in 30 days after buying that, you can't access it. So what do you mean? So basically, if you disconnect your console from the internet for more than 30 days, you turn on your PlayStation. When you see Saros there's going to be a lock on it. And the only way you can unlock it is by connecting your console to the internet. What are the chances that 99% of people are just going to be like, but I am connected to the internet? That'll never be a problem for me. The only argument you could try to, the only thing you could say to convince somebody is, well, don't you care that you don't own your games? Don't you care that if you lost internet, you could be locked out of your games? And I think the reality is most people are going to be like, no, I don't care. And I say this because look at the way people engage with music, movies, TV series, pretty much everything. The market has spoken, guys. And this is why I'm so defeatist. This is why I still hang on. I said if I could just get one more physical generation, I would be happy because I know what the market has said. The market has said we don't fucking care. And it's why you can't really, like, listen, you can be mad at these companies, but Sony knows that in the same way that Spotify fucking knows it. Like, do you think Spotify gives a single shit about the music enthusiast who's like, you got to buy vinyl, you got to buy physical, none of this streaming shit? They don't fucking care. And you know why they don't care? Because 99% of people who listen to music don't care. 99% of people who listen to music boot up Spotify on their phone, and they have access to anything they could ever want. You know? The only difference is it's going slower with games, where like with games, you're still buying them. So so I guess what I'm trying to say is there's still at least one argument to be made where it's like you're paying for these games though. You're paying full price for these games not to own them. Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying new PS Plus tier incoming so you don't have to sign in? How would that work? That sounds weird. Huh. Let me hold on. So Wicked said he contacted Wait. Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read these if you don't mind. Wicked said he contacted PlayStation support about the DRM situation, and he showed me the screenshots here. Thank you for sharing your concerns. I appreciate your feedback on this matter. If there's anything else I can assist you with, please let me know. Are these in order, by the way? Let me double check that these are in order. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't... All right, let me... Okay, so you're saying I want to remind you that Xbox was going to do this with the Xbox One, and Sony hyped off their PS4 no authentication DRM. So Microsoft abandoned the idea because of the backlash. So Sony is doing this now in secret with a stealth update that no one was notified flat out backwards. They say, I understand your concerns regarding the recent changes and the impact they may have on your gaming experience. Your feedback is important, and I encourage you to share it through the official channels as it can help inform future actions. If you have any other questions, you're saying, I understand the situation and would feel the same if I were you. Let me tell you that your comments will be added to the case notes. This will help us to continue improving the game experience. Thank you for understanding. Your case number is blah, blah, blah. Thank you for contacting PlayStation. They say thank you for sharing your interest in the 30-day timer that is being applied to all new purchases. Oh my God. Dude, that's crazy. They just said it. What that like is this even are you talking to a fucking AI? This doesn't even seem like a real person. Thank you. I almost read your name. Sorry. Thank you for your interest in the 30-day timer that is being applied to all new updates. Affected content, games purchased digitally after the March 2026 update. Online, dude, this has to be an AI. I don't even think this is a real person. PlayStation Online Assistant. Online functionality. If the console does not connect to the internet within 30 days, the license expires and the game may refuse to launch until its connection is restored. Primary console restrictions. Setting the console's primary does not bypass this 30-day requirement. The 30-day is a valid period and is not a sign of an account restriction or anything like that. And then you said that's bullshit. Dude, this is weird. This has to be an AI just regurgitating what even the PlayStation AI is confused. Vlund, you're saying maybe it's a conspiracy to increase PC prices and consoles to force people to cloud gaming. Yeah, that's what it is, man. It's what it could be, Vlund. You might be on to something, bro. Cheese and Chainsaws, you're saying imagine Asha and Booty did this. Is how we... Oh, imagine if they did that. This is how we share games at LL would be perfect timing for internet points, but we know Xbox will do it too. Dude, oh, you know what, man? I need to get in contact with Asha right now. Come on. That's fucking genius. Somebody. Yo, I know I got some Xbox fans here. Tag Asha Sharma with that fucking video and let her know. Get on it right now. Talk to your PR team. Get on this shit right now. That's genius. Dude, that would be such a fucking boss move, dude. Turn it around on Sony because Sony is not saying anything. Force their hand. Oh, I love that. I love that. That is a true full circle fucking backhand moment. Sony did that to Microsoft to fucking ruin them. Now it's our turn. I love it. I love it, dude. Unfortunately, you're probably right, though. They won't do that. None of these companies are cool enough to do some shit like that again. That's when we believe them. We actually believed them. We believe they cared. Delwyn, thank you so much for the generous super chat, buddy. You're saying, talking about physical disc, I just got a new sealed physical copy of GTA Vice City Stories on PSP from eBay for £40. It's still in its original packaging, unopened, which is awesome. I can't wait to... I think you would say to dive in crazy tonight. Dude, you know what's funny? You're saying GTA Vice City Stories. I never did play that because it was a PSP game. The PSP GTAs I never got to play. I found this really cool plaque the other day. It was pretty expensive though. I couldn't afford to buy it, but it was like this. It was like a glass case that you hang on the wall, and it had a PS2 copy of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas with the discs. It had the PS2 game cases, and the discs underneath it with the pamphlets. It looked so fucking sick. I was like, man, I want to get that. But it was like, wait, I could not justify the purchase. It was way too expensive. But that's good shit, Delwyn. Unopened. I feel like that's pretty cheap for an unopened copy, man, considering how old that game is. Let me know how it is, bro. I would love to give those games a shot one day. I feel like my cousin played them. He was really into it. He loved GTA. He had the PSP. He was more into the PSP than I was, and he had those GTA games. I think I played it one time when he was over, and he let me use his PSP, and I was trying it, but I couldn't, I wasn't really paying like close enough attention to it. But thank you, Delwyn. I appreciate the super chat, buddy. Delwyn Hype Jones. Going back to Wicked, he says, it was never announced and no one agreed to have a check-in every 30 days and not have access offline. It's not mentioned in the terms of service. When you purchase games digitally, you should not have to authenticate every 30 days. PlayStation support responds by saying, we understand your concern on this matter. While there hasn't been a formal public announcement from PlayStation, the introduction of the 30-day DRM timer is meant to be a technical measure. A technical measure? And you're saying exactly there's not been an official announcement? I mean, dude, this... Yeah, it's right there, dude. Like, this is legit. I mean, I'm not saying this couldn't be wrong, but this is the official PlayStation support assistant. My question, is this a real person you were talking to, Wicked? Like, did they have a name or anything? Because I mean, it almost does read like an AI. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they have some kind of AI assistant thing. But that's the thing. Regardless, whether it was a real person or not, it straight up said, like, it told you, like, this is not a mistake. This is a technical measure. So, could the support be completely wrong? It's possible, man. It's happened before, but this is, I don't know. I might post this on my Twitter. I should post this on this will probably blow up. I blank out your name and your case number. Should I do it? Should I apply the pressure to Sony? You start the chat with an AI and then you're forwarded to a live agent. So this is after you were forwarded to a live agent? I just want to make sure of that part because if it's an AI, I could see it just breaking completely and it doesn't even know what it's talking about. Let me save these images. Please do it. You're saying I have your permission. Lady Gamer said she asked the support and they said nothing. If it was the AI, somebody at Sony had to feed that info in there. We got to stop coping because this is happening. It's like 99%. It's like you said, 99% won't care. Well, at least I could try to do my part, you know? All right, let me see. I need to be able to blank out his name here, though. First, let me crop it. Okay. I'm just double checking that. I won't put any personal information out. And crop this one. Fuck it, we'll do it live. I love your dude. I love your response though. Like, this is bullshit. I understand your frustration. God, it always feels so condescending, doesn't it? All right, now I got to figure out how to. No, not filter, markup. What's markup? Is that how you do it? I don't ever use these Microsoft tools here. No. Nope. I'll do black. See if this. Hopefully this will work. Okay. All right. I blanked out your name. I'll go to Twitter. Oh, dude, that thing about the Call of Duty movie director is now trending on Twitter. Uh-oh. Yikes. Sorry for the dead air. I'm just trying to make sure I do this right. All right, so I'll say one of my viewers contacted PlayStation support about the new 30-day DRM update for PS4, PS5 games. They were told it is meant to, I'll say it seems it. Boss, you're going to knock my damn coffee over. Why you got to do this now? This is important. I'm trying to do important work here for once. Damn it. I got to give boss more treats so he'll leave me alone. Oh, you want DRM? Is that what you want? There. Damn. I'll say the response they got makes it sound like this is not a mistake or bug and is intentional. They describe it as a technical feature. We still need to wait for Sony to make an official comment, but this doesn't. Oh, hold on. I made it too long. I made the post too long. I can't make it too long. All right, so one of my viewers contacted PlayStation support about the 30-day DRM update for PS4, PS5 games. The response they got makes it sound like this is not a mistake or a bug and is intentional. They describe it as a technical feature. Sony still hasn't officially responded yet. All right, how's that sound, guys? Does that sound good? Does that sound ready? Wait, what, you're telling me not to post it? Why shouldn't I post it? Well, Wicked, before I... So you're saying you asked PlayStation support yesterday and they denied it. Today they admitted it. I do just want to make sure of one thing, though. Just dropped your phone in the bath? Oh, that sucks, bro. Wait, what? Whoa, what are you doing, Big Noids? I just want to double check, Wicked, like, so you're sure this was with a person, right? Because I do feel less confident in posting this. But, you know, to be honest, though, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why I want to post this is because I want to put the pressure on Sony. Like, they need to fucking say something. In my opinion, like, they need to say something. And they're clearly avoiding saying something. And that's bothering me because they're allowing it to fester. And it makes me feel like if this isn't the intention, then just clown me. Clown everybody. Be like, no, you idiots. It's a fucking bug. Yes, I am sure. I have no reason to lie. I'm a major PlayStation person with 132 platinums. You got more platinums than me? All right, that's good enough for me. All right, well, we'll see. Maybe this will, I don't know. I'm just going to double check the images one last time, make sure there's no important information. All right. Wait. Okay. All right. Well, I posted it. We'll see what happens. Worst case, I have to delete it if, you know, for some reason there's some kind of mistake. But, well, my work here is done. No, it's not done yet. Guys, we got to get the member goal up. Straight up, we got to get that member goal up, bro. We got one member. Do you know how many treats I gave my cats today? I'm just kidding. Kidding about the cat treats. It's fine. Did I tell you guys I'm getting a 5th cat? Only if we hit a member goal. Time to manipulate. Yes, that's right. That's right. We hit a member goal, I will get another cat. How about that? Sorrow stream? I don't have access to it yet. By the time I have access to it, I'm not going to... I'm probably just going to record myself playing some gameplay. And maybe I'll put some in the background, some gameplay for one of my streams. You were the first to like the tweet. Let's see. We'll see if it goes viral or not. Bro, I'm going to read... Okay, today's news. These are the 3 top trending things. Number 1, PS4 and PS5 digital games show 30-day offline timer. Number 2, Sony raises PS5 prices across Southeast Asia starting May 1st. Number 3, Peterberg's old video game Slam resurfaces amid Call of Duty movie hype. It's a bad day. Link the tweet. All right, hold on. Let me get the link here. Here you go. There it is. Quick, Sony, drop that Wolverine State of Play. All right. Geez, boss, you freaking inhaled those treats. It's AI because you have to call them. I don't think so. I mean, you can still get a live agent through their regular portal, I'm pretty sure, through the I mean, I have before. I mean, it's been a while, but this person says my PS5 isn't connecting to my internet today and no games are playing. What the fuck is going on? Well, that guy's having a real bad time. Well, here's the thing, Lady Gamer. Even if that is an AI agent, which I don't think it is, but even if it is, it's okay because we have to understand the whole point of this exercise is to get Sony to say something. That's the important part. We want to get Sony to acknowledge this, even if it means they have to confirm it, you know? But that's the thing. It's like, you know what? I'll give Microsoft this credit. Here's where I am. I'm gonna axe kick Sony right now. Okay? Microsoft at least had the balls to just announce it. They got fucking wrecked, and it was their undoing. But at least they had the balls to announce it. The thing that really rubs me the wrong way here, more than anything, is this idea that they're trying to hide it. That pisses me off. Because it's like, Sony, do what you need to do. Do what you want to do. It's your business. It's your platform. And this is why I'm like, if this isn't what you're trying to do, if you're not trying to just sneak this, slide this on through without anybody noticing, if that's not what you're trying to do, then just say so. But if it is what you're trying to do and you've been caught, then announce it. Make it known. That's all it is. It's just, it's in the hopes that they'll give clarification. We need clarification is what we need. We need clarification. And it's not right that they're not giving it to us because we are dealing with people's purchases. We are dealing with people spending money. And I know that there's a lot of people who don't care, but it's just, it's the ethics of it all, you know? Hollow's YouTube channel just dropped almost 3 hours of Saros gameplay. Looks amazing. It does look awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited to play it. I have my ironically I did buy this game digitally to get the early access, and I have it installed. So I don't own it, but I'm gonna play it. I'm such a failure. Oh man. Well, all right, guys. I don't know. I tried to encourage the membership train, but it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. We still did good with some super chats today. I do need to make sure I didn't miss any direct donations though. Let me look that over. No, we are good on that. Yeah, okay. We're good on that. So, guys, I think this is going to wrap up today's stream. I pretty much did expend every topic, and I don't want to just, you know, ramble on and on here about the same topic. I mean, I could, but I got to save some, you know. Am I double dipping with the physical? I'm not sure yet. I might. I mean, I could see myself wanting to add it to my physical games collection, yeah. All right, guys. So that's pretty much going to do it today. Oh, you think so? if Rich Rod wasn't blacklisted, you would have a train going on due to his bullying. I don't know. I don't know that Rich Rod ever contributed to it. Well, okay, to be fair, he's dropped a couple memberships. To be fair. On occasion. I did try the Rich Rod tax thing, and that worked like once or twice. But then I don't think they were like, I'm not paying this tax. I can't deal with, I can't do it. So, yeah, it's definitely not him. Okay, cats are going to fight. It worked a lot. Building towards that cat farm. Yeah, I'm getting one more cat, but only if we hit a member goal. You know what? Here we go. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Hold on, I got one more play. Somebody drop 99 member gifts right now. I'll get a cat at the end of the week. And I'll name him Papa. Yeah. That's right. He's going to be the new one. He's going to be the new one, keeping him in check. Clark, you need some treats. I'm going to have to keep Clark in check. So you guys have approximately 45 seconds to drop 99 member gifts. If not, sorry. You missed your opportunity. MBG was going to get another cat. We have five. You know what? People don't want that. Who am I kidding? People don't want that. People are like, no, MBG, this is the worst goal you've ever made. We don't want you to have another cat. Do you see how distracted you already get with the 4 cats you have now? Like half the time I can't even stay on topic. You know what? All right. Drop 99 memberships. I'll get rid of one of my cats. I finally tried GT7 PSVR 2. It was freaking awesome. I also had the car I have in real life, and it's exactly true to life detail. It's so freaking crazy. I played GT7 and PSVR 2 for a little bit. It is nuts. Made me sick and gave me a horrible headache, but I was very impressed. I was very impressed with what I played. Did you see that Asha Sharma came out and said that Xbox Helix may have price increases and availability issues due to the RAM crisis? No, where did she say that? I didn't see that. I've been seeing everything else, but apparently I missed that one. It had to have just come out because I didn't see that. Yeah, I tried with PSVR 2, but I couldn't adjust to it. I couldn't get used to it. It tortured me. It really fucked me up badly. Like I would be out for the rest of the day with like a debilitating headache, and I don't know. I just couldn't do it. But it was awesome. Like Resident Evil 4 in PSVR 2 was awesome, dude. Like that was, I think it's still like the best VR experience, hands down. Like nothing even really comes close in my opinion. It actually like showed me the thing about Resident Evil 4 in VR for PSVR 2. It showed me that like a AAA action game can absolutely translate into a full-blown VR version if they do it right. And it's kind of crazy to think that like you would have thought that Sony would have taken one of their big games, maybe like The Last of Us Part 2 or something like that, right? And did what Capcom did, you know, where it's like, here's a VR version. That would be crazy and awesome and make so much sense. And I think it would sell headsets, but they're like, no, we're not. We don't believe in it that much. We're not doing that. But they paid Capcom to do it. It's like, okay. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. I do appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with me. I appreciate all the support you guys have shown. You know, we are completely fan-funded here. I can do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So thank you to everybody who contributed today. We did get one member, though, so shout out to that membership renewal. But thank you for the super chats or any direct donations. It all helps and it all contributes. And I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see Devil Shooter in the comments with those timestamps, show him some thanks, show him some love. I know he appreciates it. Devil Shooter, thank you for what you do, man. It was on WCC. Hold on one sec. Hold on. I'm delaying the outro for 1 sec. I go to WCCF Tech all the time. Okay. Hold on. I actually will cover this real quick. And maybe we'll cover this more in depth on the next stream. But just as a final, hold on. Asha Sharma has been extremely active since she officially replaced the now retired Phil Spencer at Xbox in late February. One of the earliest moves was discontinuing, this is an Xbox marketing campaign, which had been widely mocked by fans. More significantly, she formally dismantled the Microsoft gaming identity in favor of a unified Xbox-first structure, with Microsoft plastering the return of Xbox slogan on its office walls. On April 21st, Sharma announced a cut to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate's monthly price at $30 to $23, while PC Game Pass dropped from $16.15 to $14. Simultaneously, new Call of Duty titles will be removed day one from Game Pass availability, with future entries joining the service only after 12 months. Following that big news, she was interviewed by GameFile and admitted that the decision on whether to return Xbox to proper game exclusives is still being made. GameFile later posted a full transcript of the interview, which includes another newsworthy tidbit. Asha Sharma confirming that I love how it takes this long just to get to the actual news. Asha Sharma confirming that the ongoing memory shortages will impact the pricing of Xbox's next console, codenamed Helix. Quote, all of these things are an equation. Memory costs will impact pricing, will impact availability. As we think about being where the world plays, we will take that into consideration. So we're not ready to share a launch timeline right now. The world's pretty dynamic. My number one focus, though, is to focus on what's in our control. Build a great console to play great games, including your PC games. All I can share is that we have dev kits going out next year, and we're working really hard to have a lot, to continue to do a lot and continue to learn. But we really are excited about Project Helix and the initial feedback that we're getting. Okay. All right, I'm not gonna lie. I thought there was gonna be more there, bro. And it's all right. Yeah, there's gonna be a shortage. Availability, pricing. Shocker. Oh, look at that, pushing Polygon. There we go. See, there we go. I knew I should have held out. I knew it was a good idea. Pushing Polygons drops a member gift. There we go. Now we only need 98. 98, and MBG gets another cat. Pushing Polygons clearly wants me to get a new cat, and it goes to neutral zone, which is funny. Yeah, I mean, that's not surprising at all, to be honest. She says it's gonna impact pricing, it's gonna impact availability. I find this, I'm curious to hear more, though. Like, I want to hear more, because she is saying something that's obvious. It's very interesting to me to think that, like, dude, Sony won't even acknowledge the PS6, and Asha Sharma's already out here saying, like, yeah, we ain't even gonna have enough of these things, bro. Sorry. Very interesting to see the dynamic. And Shadowlink comes in. Thank
you. Appreciate
He says,
it.
we will get a single train of 97 membership gifts in the name of the new beast. Shadowlink drops another single. Hold on now. Hold on. What are we doing? Are we doing it? Luna's getting excited. Luna, come up here. Come say thank you. Come on, you know you want to. You don't want to. She's like, she's about to scratch the shit out of me. I just tried to pick her up to pet her, but she's like, no. Shadowlink, thank you for the member gift, man. Sony will announce 100 million shipped this year, and all the GTA heads will sell out. It'll be out of stock, even at $600. I mean, you might be right, but I don't know, man. It says Project Helix could cost up to $1,200, but it could also be worth as much as a $2 or $3K PC. We'll see about that. I mean, guys, we're in the 9th console generation, correct? So, I want to go to something real quick, because I just had this thought. She's acknowledging availability. She's acknowledging pricing, and we're like well over a year away. So I want to go back to the We Are Xbox post. The first thing she says is she says stabilize Generation 9, so the Xbox Series consoles, as a healthy and high quality base. I mean, it seems to me like what we were talking about Sony possibly doing, Microsoft is already planning to do, which means Sony might do it, but she's saying they want to establish the Series X and S as a high quality base. I mean, I read that as they're not planning on abandoning or walking away from the Series X or S anytime soon. So if you have like 27, 28 million sold, that's their base. They're going to build from that with Helix. And it almost sounds like if they sell like 5 million Helixes, that's going to go on top of the Series X and S and kind of be counted as a, so like, yeah, we're at like 33, 34 million, whatever. Well, it does look like this post, by the way, might blow up. I will tell you. Hold on. We're getting some pushback here. Somebody says, so I'm shifting gears. I went back to my Twitter post. Somebody says, I literally can't comprehend why this is a big deal. If you buy and download digital games, you have access to the internet. Most consoles live online these days. And even if you don't always have internet, chances are you have a phone you can connect to. This only affects pirates. Somebody says people want to jailbreak their PS5s. To do that, you can't connect your PS5 to the internet. The version of your PS5 needs to be as old as possible to have a chance of jailbreaking it. Yeah, it's just this community that needs to be careful of it. Wait. Somebody, this guy named PS5 Blows said Sony is badass. What? It's interesting to me that that's the top comment, though. Somebody saying, like, this isn't a big deal. Like, this is going to go down exactly the way I said it will, isn't it? Sony's going, like, it's going to be confirmed this is legitimate. And then that's pretty much it. Like, no one's going to care. We're just going to. What a great name, PS5 Blows. All right, guys, we're actually going to wrap it up now. Shadowlink and hold on, my whole fucking shit. Shadowlink pushing polygons. Thank you guys for the single member gifts. We tried. You guys tried, right? I appreciate it. But we are going to wrap up now. I just wanted to check what Asha Sharma was saying there, and we'll see what happens with this post I put out. And we'll see what happens in the coming days. If we get any more news on this, I'll be sure to cover it. I've been covering it in my videos, and I'll continue to cover it in the streams. But that's it. Once again, want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. Thank you for doing the timestamps, man. But that's it. I'm out. I will catch everybody in the next stream. So until then, take care, everyone.